What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 2SM Chapter 21 The New Generation of Jujutsu High School. Previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement. Ming knelt down and looked at Itadori Yuji with his eyes behind his sunglasses. Itadori Yuji, don't die surrounded by flowers, live with flowers in your arms. Listening to Ming's modified grandfather's quotation, Itadori Yuji looked at Ming blankly. He had never thought about such a thing. He knew that he was special, but he never thought that he was so special in Ming's eyes. Becoming the strongest in the world like Mr. Gojo Satoru? Is it possible for me? Now that I can't even catch up with Ming, how can I dare to compare with the strongest Gojo Satoru? Ming, who has been reduced to a unit of measurement. Thank you. Kid, do you think you can control me with him? Delusion? A mouth suddenly appeared on Itadori Yuji's side face, and Sukuna's voice sounded in the room. Sorry, I may not have full control yet. Itadori Yuji pressed the mouth back on his face and shook his head awkwardly at Gojo Satoru and Ming. He couldn't even control Sukuna with one finger at the moment, so how could he talk about 20 fingers in the future? Haha, this is the king of curses, how can he be so easy to control? You are already very strong if you can restrain him in your body. Gojo Satoru laughed and did not comment on what Ming just said. Although he knew that Itadori Yuji had high potential, the vision painted by Ming was really too big. Advertisement. However, what surprised him was that Itadori Yuji seemed to be very naive and really believed Ming's words. The disappointment on his face has completely dissipated. But, after eating 20 of Sukuna's fingers, I still have to be sentenced to death. Itadori muttered hesitantly. Upon hearing these words, Ming's face immediately showed an angry expression. When you really eat 20 fingers, how many people in this world do you think can defeat you? As long as you can always control your body, no one will dare to mention the death penalty to you. Speaking of this, Ming raised his head and glanced at Gojo Satoru. And, the way it goes, you're on probation as long as you don't eat 20 fingers. With Mr. Gojo's ability, it's easy to hide a finger. Now, do you really think the death penalty is a big deal? Ming's words made Itadori Yuji's expression froze, and also made Gojo Satoru's expression freeze. Can this kind of operation still be possible? Why didn't I think of that? Did Mr. Gojo think so? Close black lens bracket? Itadori Yuji's eyes lit up. If he could live forever, who would want to die? How does this brat know my thoughts? Do all the little devil's minds turn so fast these days? This innocent guy Itadori was really turned around by Ming Pua. Close black lens bracket. However, if Itadori can really grow as Ming envisioned, it will be a good thing for the entire Jujutsu world. Close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Gojo Satoru shrugged and didn't give any other response. He is a member of the association. How can he take advantage of the association's loopholes? There is nothing he can do whether his fingers can find it or not. He is Gojo Satoru, not a search dog. Seeing that Gojo Satoru did not refute Ming's words, Itadori Yuji immediately realized that Gojo Satoru had acquiesced. The depression of being sentenced to death with a reprieve instantly dissipated, and he also developed a huge fondness for Ming. As for the fact that he encountered these situations entirely because of Ming, he has completely forgotten about it. Just as Ming said, he wants to become the king and Sukuna becomes the mount. And, sorry, Grandpa, I will die surrounded by flowers, but I hope it will be later. Before I die, I hope to live with flowers in my arms. Itadori Yuji swallows Sukuna's finger. A powerful spell broke out in Itadori Yuji's body. Gojo Satoru looked at Itadori Yuji with a smile, ready to kill him at any time. Ming, on the other hand, had a leisurely expression. As a time traveler, he naturally knew the specialness of Itadori Yuji and also knew that Sukuna could not occupy Itadori's body. After being confused for a moment, the spell power disappeared instantly. Itadori Yuji opened his eyes again, his eyes filled with clarity. Hey, that feels good. Yuji-kun, you are really the special one. Advertisement. Gojo Satoru stretched. Naru-kun, Yuji-kun, you guys pack up. We are going to Jujutsu High School. From now on, you will all be students of the high school. Gojo Satoru opened the door to the seal room and walked out first. Everything was within his plan. Although Ming's remarks were a little unexpected, they were innocuous. He is confident that no matter how far Ming and Itadori Yuji grow, he will be the strongest existence. Ming, who possesses shadow magic and protects the cursed spirit. Itadori Yuji possesses the power of Sukuna and a strong body. Fushiguro Megumi, who possesses 10 shadow spells. Gojo Satoru felt a trace of emotion in his heart. He felt that this class of children should be the most talented class he has brought up, right? Even Okkotsu Yūta's class may not be able to compare with it. I'm looking forward to this complicated jujutsu era. I will prove who is right, the path I choose or the path you choose. Gojo Satoru pulled off his blindfold, revealing a blue eye. The sky outside the room was blue, and it looked like Gojo Satoru's eyes. Under the observation of this blue eye, the gears of the entire jujutsu world began to slowly turn. Chapter 22. Now that I'm here, I won't let you be cut in half, sheep teacher. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Tokyo Prefectural Jujutsu High School. The school is located deep in the mountains in a remote suburb of Tokyo. Its external image is that of a private religious school, and it is also the base of many jujutsu masters. Many students who have graduated from colleges and universities have taken this as a starting point to carry out spiritual elimination operations. For many jujutsu masters, Jujutsu College not only has the function of education and training, but is also responsible for task dispatch and support work. Last night, Lu Ming and Itadori Yuji were brought near the high school by Gojo Satoru. Fushiguro Megumi has entered a high school for treatment. Since Lu Ming is not yet a member of Jujutsu High School, he can only wait for Itadori Yuji to pass the test of Gojo Satoru before he can enter the high school with Gojo Satoru and Itadori Yuji. How's it going? Is the environment nice? Seeing Lu Ming and Itadori Yuji coming out behind him, Gojo Satoru grinned and stretched greatly. Wow, this is a high school. Itadori Yuji's eyes widened, as if he had never seen the world. After arriving in Tokyo last night, he lost consciousness and had no idea how he arrived near the high school. Yes, the environment is really good. It seems that I will really become a classmate with you, Itadori, in the future. Lu Ming smiled and was quite satisfied with the environment of the high school. After all, the beautiful scenery was very similar to the place where he lived 150 years ago. Oh, I really don't know whether I should be happy or sad to become a classmate with you, Lu Ming. Itadori Yuji's face fell. He took a big breath of free and fresh air, and the corners of his mouth dropped slightly. It's okay. You will thank me later. Lu Ming patted Itadori Yuji on the shoulder, with a hint of amusement in his eyes. Advertisement. He wanted to see if the main plot with his own involvement would develop as it originally did. He is also looking forward to it. If Kensuo sees himself, will he be able to recognize himself? After all, this is the first time his face has appeared in this world. Hey, you two are really ignoring me. I'm just taking you to the interview now. Whether you can pass it or not depends on your own performance, okay? Gojo Satoru saw Lu Ming and Itadori Yuji chatting among themselves, and suddenly felt left out. Do you still need to have an interview? Will you fail? Itadori Yuji suddenly became a little nervous when he heard Yubei. It's okay, it's just a formality. Lu Ming chuckled, his whole stomach filled with bad water. He knew that with his strength, there would be no obstacles to entering a junior high school, and it was even less likely that Itadori Yuji would be rejected by a junior high school. After all, if Sukuna's container is not a high school student, then the high school will not be able to manage it. However, going through the motions also requires dividing people. He was really looking forward to how embarrassed Itadori Yuji would be when he was interviewed by Yaga Masamichi. After all, he was a veritable master of jujutsu, a powerful jujutsu master whose strength was comparable to that of a special class. Hearing Lu Ming's comfort, Itadori Yuji immediately relaxed. He completely forgot that what Lu Ming, a chaotic and neutral person, said was not credible at all. In this way, Itadori Yuji and Lu Ming followed Gojo Satoru into Jujutsu High School. Gojo-sensei, does this Ryomen Sukuna really need your attention? Itadori Yuji has been very curious about the existence inhabiting his body since last night. Of course, this is also one of the best villain BOSS's, close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Lu Ming complained in his heart, but was not prepared to answer. Now this is Gojo Satoru's home court, and Itadori Yuji will be Gojo Satoru's student from now on. He should never interrupt the teacher's teaching process. Although he has not officially enrolled yet, Gojo Satoru actually started teaching Itadori Yuji yesterday. Well, how should I put it? It's still worthy of attention. Gojo Satoru put his hands in his pockets and took the lead in walking leisurely. At the same time, he explained to Itadori Yuji. Ryomen Sukuna, King of Curses. It is rumored that he is a virtual ghost with 4 hands and 2 faces, but he is actually a person who actually existed thousands of years ago. At that time, Jujutsu was in its heyday, and both the Jujutsu Division and Cursed Spirit were more ferocious than they are now. In that case, the Jujutsu Division gathered all its strength to challenge him, but ultimately failed. From then on, his name Sukuna was sealed. Even after his death, the Jujutsu Masters couldn't even destroy his bones. It can be said that Sukuna fully deserves the title of King of Curses. Thinking of the 2 fingers he swallowed, and recalling the fingers that were still intact under Gojo Satoru's technique, Itadori Yuji had such a question in his heart. If Gojo Satoru is really the strongest Jujutsu master, then even he can't destroy Sukuna's fingers. So, Gojo-sensei, who is stronger between you and Ryomen Sukuna? After Itadori Yuji finished speaking, the scene became somewhat silent. Lu Ming raised his eyebrows, looking forward to Gojo Satoru's answer. The most powerful jujutsu master who was self-absorbed was not a good person. Well, this is it. Ryomen Sukuna should be quite difficult to deal with after regaining his strength, right? Gojo Satoru's answer made Itadori Yuji a little disappointed. So, Mr. Gojo, will you lose? Advertisement. Gojo Satoru smiled confidently. I will win. This strong self-confidence completely infected Itadori Yuji. Lu Ming smiled silently after hearing this. It must be said that Gojo Satoru is still very strong. If he did not become a 2-point Gojo Satoru in the future, this sentence might be more convincing. However, Lu Ming still recognized Gojo Satoru's strength. Gojo Satoru will be cut in half. In Lu Ming's opinion, it is simply a plot kill. It is simply because the author feels that if Gojo Satoru does not go offline, the protagonist group will not be able to continue the plot. Gojo Satoru was originally just a supporting character, but in the end he became the most popular person in the entire story. Unfortunately, supporting characters are just supporting characters and can take you offline at any time. Compared with Gojo Satoru, Ryomen Sukuna, who is one with Itadori Yuji, is more of a protagonist. So, why is Sukuna cheating and directly cutting off the space? Have you forgotten that the protagonist next door is so powerful that he can even cut through the BGM? No matter how much Gojo Satoru dominates the world, he can't help but cheat the protagonist, right? But for Lu Ming now, he doesn't care about this at all. Now that he has come to this world, and all the terrible experiments have been successful, he has escaped from death and lived from 150 years ago to the present. Then, maybe he should be the protagonist of this world. As for what the future holds for Gojo Satoru, Lu Ming felt that if he could successfully learn unlimited techniques from Gojo Satoru, then he should help his cheap teacher in the future. After all, the ending of Gojo Satoru being cut in half was a bit too uncomfortable even for a chaotic neutral person like me. Surely the original author of the story wasn't disgusting himself by letting Gojo Satoru end up like this? Chapter 23. I came to the college to do only 2 things. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Lu Ming didn't see anything wrong with his chaotic neutral stance at all. After all, I can't let myself work hard for those rotten old guys in the Jujutsu Masters Association and be a good and lawful character. Then, when they needed it, they were sold directly by these old guys, and you still counted the money for them? Sorry, although nothing has happened yet, Gojo Satoru's future fate is still vivid in our minds. After Gojo Satoru was sealed by the prison gate in Shibuya, the Jujutsu Masters Association directly issued a decision about cerebral palsy, completely opposing Gojo Satoru and the protagonist group. In the end, Itadori Yuji survived Okkotsu Yūta's betrayal, but the principal of the high school, Yaga Masamichi, died at the hands of his old friend. Anyway, if he puts himself in Yaga Masamichi's position, then he will never sit still and wait for death. If he wants to let himself die, then he will definitely turn the entire Jujutsu world upside down. As for the ending of Yaga Masamichi, this is the fate of the good and lawful camp. In this world where curse is rampant, who is the decent person who stands in the good and lawful camp? By standing in the chaotic neutral camp, you are already giving face to the Jujutsu Masters Association. If he really made himself anxious, he could just stand in the evil and chaotic camp and beat up Kensuo first before participating in Kensha's plan. Anyway, everything depends on your mood. In this way, while Lu Ming was spreading his thoughts, he and Itadori Yuji followed Gojo Satoru into the dojo. Even though it was broad daylight, dim candles were still lit around the gym. It seemed like there were no windows at all in the gym. As soon as I walked in, I felt that the whole world suddenly became dark. Advertisement. So slow, Satoru. As a deep middle-aged man's voice sounded, the door of the gym closed spontaneously. The sound of the door closing made Itadori Yuji startled, and he subconsciously turned his head and looked around. Lu Ming looked with interest at the man in sunglasses in front of him. As the principal of a high school, he actually held a poking needle in his hand and was carefully making cute stuffed toys. The whole picture looks so inconsistent and weird. You're 8 minutes late, although it's not enough to get scolded, but I also said, didn't I tell you to get rid of this bad habit? Yaga Masamichi's voice sounded again, and Itadori Yuji also noticed this middle-aged man. Then, Itadori's expression also froze. He didn't pay attention to the movements of Yaga Masamichi's hands. He widened his eyes, swallowed his saliva, and looked at Yaga Masamichi's back coldly. This uncle who looks like a gangster is sitting among a circle of dolls, looking full of girlish heart. Is this Jujutsu high school? Why do I feel like I'm in the wrong place? This uncle is actually making cute things. Close black lens bracket. Since it's not worthy of being scolded, then teacher, please stop scolding me. Gojo Satoru looked indifferent. You are making dolls anyway, so it doesn't matter if you wait for 8 minutes, right? Isn't it just that you are late? If you are late, you are late. After saying that, he smiled and looked sideways at Itadori Yuji and introduced. This is Principal Yaga Masamichi. As for Lu Ming and Gojo Satoru on the side, they showed no concern at all. Since Lu Ming knew him so well and had an unclear relationship with the Zenin family, it was quite normal for him to know some of the personnel composition of the high school. Advertisement. Lu Ming, who was deliberately ignored, shrugged, with the same indifferent expression. His goals for joining the high school were only Gojo Satoru and Fushiguro Megumi, and at most Kamo Noritoshi during the high school competition. The holders of these Big Three Sorcerer Families' ancestral spells are his real purpose. As for the others, they're just clouds. On the other side, Yaga Masamichi finally raised his head, holding a white and green doll in his hand, and glanced at Lu Ming and Itadori Yuji. Is it just these two people? Yaga Masamichi put down the doll in his hand and pushed up his glasses, his face full of seriousness. My name is Itadori Yuji, my type is Jennifer Lawrence, please take care of me. Itadori Yuji knew that the gangster opposite him was actually the principal of a high school, so he quickly bowed and introduced himself, and even reported his XP. Lu Ming also followed the crowd and said his name with a smile. My name is Lu Ming, and I like Yang cuisine. After saying that, he ignored Yaga Masamichi and continued to look at the entire dojo. Yaga Masamichi has black lines all over his face. These two students are really strange, not normal at all. Itadori Yuji likes foreigners, but is it necessary to say this? Lu Ming likes to eat Yang cuisine, which seems to be a type of Chinese cuisine, so is he really Chinese? Close black lens bracket. Yaga Masamichi looked at Lu Ming and Itadori Yuji. He already knew something about Itadori Yuji, the Sukuna container, during the communication last night. However, he wanted to observe Lu Ming himself, a person who was extremely eccentric. Advertisement. Strong, like Okkotsu Yūta. He can feel the power of the special cursed spirit, but he is not as difficult to control his cursed spirit as Yūta. Close black lens bracket. If Wu hadn't said it in advance yesterday, I might have actually regarded the curse power of this cursed spirit as Lu Ming's. So, is the relationship between Lu Ming and cursed spirit already so compatible? Close black lens bracket. Coupled with the shadow magic technique, this kind of strength can indeed be regarded as one of the top troops in the Jujutsu world. Close black lens bracket. In terms of strength, Yaga Masamichi has no reason to refuse Lu Ming to join the high school. What is your goal, Lu Ming? Yaga Masamichi cut straight to the point. Hearing this classic interview question, Lu Ming raised the corners of his mouth slightly and stared at the principal, whose future would be a bit miserable. I came to the high school to do only two things. First, I can do whatever I want, it just depends on my mood, no one can order me. Second, I want to become stronger, strong enough to achieve the first thing. Yaga Masamichi suddenly fell silent when he heard this. This answer was so general that he could not see Lu Ming's true thoughts at all. However, through this answer, he did see that Lu Ming did as he pleased. I'm afraid only Gojo Satoru can control such a person. Yaga Masamichi and Lu Ming looked at each other. Both of them wore sunglasses, and the eyes behind the sunglasses could not see each other. After looking at each other for a few seconds, Yaga Masamichi nodded slightly. Lu Ming. Qualified, Chapter 24. Gojo Satoru, can you please keep your character from being destroyed in the future? Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Yaga Masamichi's voice fell, and Itadori Yuji was stunned. Can you live like this? As expected, it's just a process, so I really have nothing to worry about. Close black lens bracket. Thinking of this, Itadori Yuji even began to look forward to the future life of a high school student. Itadori Yuji. Yaga Masamichi turned around and mentioned Itadori's name, his eyes slightly narrowed behind his sunglasses. What are you here for? Itadori Yuji touched his head. Interview. I came to the high school to learn Jujutsu. Itadori Yuji added in time. Yaga Masamichi looked at Yuji deeply and continued to ask. You come to understand curse and learn how to get rid of curse. What do you want to do after that? Itadori Yuji's expression froze. He didn't know why the principal asked so many questions. Recycle Sukuna's finger. Such a dangerous thing will be very dangerous if left alone. Itadori Yuji suddenly became energetic when he thought about the things that only he could do in this world. However, the next second, he was interrupted by Yaga Masamichi's cold voice. Why? Accidents, disasters, diseases. Complete strangers die every day for various reasons. This is a natural law and a matter of course. If he died because of curse and was harmed by the cursed spirit, wouldn't you be able to just sit back and do nothing? Realizing that Yaga Masamichi was making things difficult for him, Itadori Yuji's expression also became a little serious. These are the last words I heard. Advertisement. The image of his grandfather's death appeared in Itadori Yuji's mind. The details don't matter at all. In short, I just want to save people. Knowing that Itadori Yuji regards his grandfather's last words as his goal in life, Yaga Masamichi looked dissatisfied, stood up suddenly, raised his right hand, and injected the magic power into the doll beside him. Unqualified. That's someone else's goal, not yours. Under the control of Yaga Masamichi, a green doll half the height of a man stood up. Human nature is truly exposed only after falling into a desperate situation. This is Curse, the doll that I curse. He will keep attacking until I get a satisfactory answer. During the battle with the cursed skeleton, the conversation between the two still did not stop. Tiger. That's not someone else's goal, it's grandpa, it's family. Knight. My family is also someone else. Jujutsu masters have to deal with death all the time. It is an unpleasant job that requires a certain amount of madness and high motivation. Can you do it just by listening to what others say? Yi. It's a joke. To prolong the death penalty, I'm more willing to accept it. Tiger. What a joke. Yi. Then let me ask you, when you were killed by Curse, did you also leave the responsibility to Grandpa? Tiger. You really don't listen to what you say. The battle between Itadori Yuji and the Curse also began to become fierce. During this process, Lu Ming and Gojo Satoru watched all this with leisurely expressions. Now, Principal Yaga is starting again. Gojo Satoru shrugged and explained to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded, showing an understanding expression. Principal, you always hate to see students go astray, right? After all, not every student will follow the path laid out by the school. In the process of performing tasks in daily life, everyone will encounter things that affect and change themselves. If you are not determined, you may not be able to go further on the path of Jujutsu Master, right? Itadori Yuji is Sukuna's container. If he really goes astray, the harm he will cause will be far greater than that of others. Advertisement Sha Yuja's figure appeared in Lu Ming's mind. Come to think of it, Sha Yuja's betrayal was also a very big blow to Yaga Masamichi, right? Perhaps, it is precisely because of Sha Yuja that Yaga Masamichi takes Itadori Yuji so seriously. However, why not use these positive arguments to pull yourself? Lu Ming probably guessed that Yaga Masamichi saw his own mind and knew that he was not a person who would be swayed by words. This Principal Yaga may have handed over all his transformation plans to Gojo Satoru. But think about it, it is impossible for a high school to recruit a time bomb. If there were no bomb disposal experts like Gojo Satoru, people like me would not be able to enter a high school anyway. While Lu Ming was deep in thought, Gojo Satoru's 6 eyes kept looking at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's words just now touched Gojo Satoru a lot. Lu Ming thought of Sha Yuja, and Gojo Satoru also thought of his best friend. As someone who walked on 2 different paths with Sha Yuja, Gojo Satoru still regrets Sha Yuja's death. However, in Gojo Satoru's view, Lu Ming is more like Sha Yuja than Itadori Yuji, and is more likely to follow Sha Yuja's path. Ming-kun, in the future, don't be too extreme in your actions. It's okay. Teacher can solve any problem. Gojo Satoru's expression became a little serious, which surprised Lu Ming. Although Gojo Satoru usually seems to have a very out-of-touch personality, he does not say anything to his students. Lu Ming also realized that Gojo Satoru really taught him as a student. Thinking of this, he suddenly felt a little touched in his heart. Huh, Mr. Gojo is indeed the strongest. Then I will have to trouble the teacher a lot more in the future. I'm different from Itadori. I'm a problem student. Lu Ming smiled and spoke the truth. Advertisement. If Gojo Satoru really treats him as a student, he will definitely cause a lot of headaches in the future. It's okay. The high school only admits problem students. Gojo Satoru grinned. His confidence and temperament made Lu Ming have a new understanding of Gojo Satoru's charm. As expected of Mr. Gojo, it is natural that he is so popular. If you treat me like this, it will shake my chaotic neutral position. Close black lens bracket. Lu Ming, who is freewheeling, can feel Gojo Satoru's true emotions. At this moment, his position begins to favor the protagonist group in Jujutsu High School. Although I don't know what will happen when I die, but I don't want to regret the way I live. The battle came to an end, and Itadori Yuji locked the green doll with his limbs and spoke his true thoughts. Yaga Masamichi fell silent when he heard this, and then turned to look at Gojo Satoru. Wu, take him and Lu Ming to the dormitory. By the way, let me introduce the school's security measures. Itadori Yuji was slightly stunned and did not react. You're qualified. Yaga Masamichi extended his right hand in response. Itadori Yuji was overjoyed, and the right hand that originally locked the doll subconsciously stretched out, preparing to shake hands with the principal. Then, the cursed skeleton doll broke free and gave him a hard punch. Sorry, I forgot to unlock the spell. Yaga Masamichi smiled awkwardly. But Itadori Yuji, who was knocked over by a punch, was filled with bitterness. Can you stop treating them so differently? Is this a threat to the new students? Close black lens bracket. Then why doesn't Lu Ming need to experience this kind of thing? Close black lens bracket. No matter how much Itadori Yuji wants to complain in his heart, at least, from this moment on, both of them are members of Jujutsu High School. Chapter 25 Huzzy, You Are the Landlord, previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement arriving at the dormitory of the high school. Itadori Yuji immediately put a poster of Jennifer on the wall. Well, Yuji, you really don't hide your XP at all? He is really an old gentleman, brother Huzi. You are worthy of being our role model, and worthy of being Todo Oi's best friend in the future. Close black lens bracket. Lu Ming had just seen his room, and it was exactly the same layout as Itadori Yuji's room. He didn't have anything to bring over, so he simply came to Itadori Yuji's place to visit. When he heard the sound, Fushiguro Megumi, who was sleeping in the dormitory nearby, also yawned and walked out. Aren't there many empty rooms nearby? Why did you choose these two? Wouldn't it be nice to be a little more lively, Fushiguro? Seeing that the room chosen by Lu Ming and Itadori Yuji was close to him, Fushiguro Megumi also looked helpless. He seemed to be able to imagine how bad his living environment would be in the next few years. Looking at the three people in front of him, Gojo Satoru crossed his arms, leaned against the wall, and said to Itadori Yuji in the center of the three people. Yuji, but you don't have to fight, right? Fushiguro, Lu Ming, and I can just find Sukuna's fingers. You can just wait for us here. Itadori Yuji imagined a picture of the future and chuckled. Advertisement, that won't work. Thinking about the bruised Fushiguro and Lu Ming coming to give me a finger when I'm leisurely, it's very funny to think about it. Although Lu Ming brought all this on himself, after all, if he hadn't fed me this finger, wouldn't everything have happened? But as expected, I can't just watch this happen. After Itadori Yuji finished speaking, Lu Ming showed a disgusted expression. If Yuji can be a bad guy, then I'll apply to be a bad guy too. I'm not a workaholic, a student should act like a student. I don't want to bring food to Yuji. Lu Ming's words suddenly silenced the whole room. None of the three people realized the meaning of Lu Ming's words. 5 seconds later, Gojo Satoru suddenly laughed. Not to mention, if Yuji really didn't participate in the operation, he would really look like a bastard waiting for his roommate to bring food and feed it to Sukuna's fingers. Gojo Satoru scratched the back of his head. However, Yuji does have to fight. After all, if Sukuna's fingers were really so easy to find, they would have been found long ago. The one whose aura is too strong, the one who masks the aura, or the one who is possessed by the cursed spirit. When it comes to finding something, it is the most troublesome. But now that I have you, Yuji, you are now the best detector. Sukuna in your body will tell you where your fingers are in order to regain your strength. So, if you don't come to the scene, there will be nothing left. After listening to Gojo Satoru's words, Itadori Yuji suddenly realized. Advertisement. He touched his belly, and then hesitantly muttered to himself. But, is this guy so kind? Gojo Satoru smiled and opened the door. Then it's up to you to build a win-win relationship. Well, to put it simply, one of you two has to be a tool like a mount. Lu Ming added, and then asked with a smirk. Yuji, you don't want to be a tool like mount, do you? So, let's let Sukuna be the mount. But, Yuji, don't worry. After all, since I put Sukuna on you, I will naturally help you take the initiative. The current Sukuna can't beat me anyway. Even if he really becomes stronger, isn't there still Mr. Gojo? When he comes out, how about just knocking him down and letting him be your mount? Lu Ming's words made Itadori Yuji a little embarrassed. Just when he shyly wanted to thank him, a mouth appeared on Itadori's face again. The king and the mount? Is there anyone else worthy of being called king in front of me? Just wait for me? As soon as Sukuna finished speaking, he was slapped back by Itadori Yuji. He had been observing the world inside Itadori's body, but he couldn't accept it at all when Lu Ming talked about him like this. When he is completely free, he will definitely give Lu Ming the most miserable way to die. Look, isn't Sukuna in a hurry? Advertisement. Lu Ming laughed and patted Itadori Yuji's shoulder gently. Yuji, you are the landlord, so you have to take good care of the tenant in your body. If he is disobedient, remember to cut off his water and electricity. He's peeking into our lives like this. If this happens, doesn't it mean that we lose all our privacy? Think about it. Ryomen Sukuna will have to spy on you when you take a shower in the future. Oh, is this what you want? Itadori Yuji's expression froze. He had never thought of such a thing. Fushiguro Megumi and Gojo Satoru on the side did not expect that Lu Ming would pay attention to this angle. However, what surprised them even more was that Itadori Yuji actually did this. Lu Ming, how can I cut off his water and electricity? It's very simple. Become stronger. It's not about becoming stronger unconsciously, but becoming stronger with a purpose. Ask Mr. Gojo for advice. As long as your spirit is strong enough, it's not difficult to block Sukuna's sight. After all, Yuji, your body, well, it can be regarded as one of the best works in this era. Lu Ming threw away these confusing words, turned around and walked back to his room. But Itadori Yuji's eyes were full of fighting spirit. In order to prevent Ryomen Sukuna from prying into his privacy, he must improve himself quickly. Open black lens bracket. Unexpectedly, Lu Ming really has the ability to stimulate students' potential. Close black lens bracket. If Lu Ming successfully graduates in the future, maybe he can become an excellent class teacher like me. Close black lens bracket. Gojo Satoru is becoming more and more interested in Lu Ming. Chapter 26 The Zenin Family's Temptation. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Sendai. Lu Ming accompanied Itadori Yuji to Sendai, preparing to cremate his grandfather's body. Because it was too hasty before, Itadori Yuji was taken to Tokyo overnight. Now that everything has settled, Grandpa Itadori's funeral arrangements must naturally begin. Because the reason for all this belongs to Lu Ming was naturally assigned this task. 3 days. In 3 days, we are going to pick up the new classmates. This was the only advice Gojo Satoru gave them both. 3 days were enough for Lu Ming and Itadori Yuji to complete this matter, so neither of them was in a hurry. With the funeral subsidy from the college, Itadori Yuji was able to arrange a cemetery for his grandfather. On the other side, after Lu Ming and Itadori Yuji left school for Sendai, Gojo Satoru sat in his office and made a phone call. Hey, is Zenin directly here? Well, isn't it? The old guy is drunk again? Then if I make a mistake, I will die. Alas, I also want to say that I found another student of shadow magic. I want to ask if it is the blood of the Zenin family. On the other side of the phone, the middle-aged man who initially looked disgusted when he heard Gojo Satoru's voice immediately blew his beard like steel needles on both sides, widened his eyes and roared loudly. What did you say? Shadow magic. The words, shadow magic, are like a nuclear bomb in the entire Zenin family. As an ancestral technique of the Zenin family, the Zenin people have always been dissatisfied that Fushiguro Megumi could not return to the Zenin family. Therefore, he has been secretly thinking about how to change Fushiguro Megumi's name to Zenin Megumi. However, has this matter been completed yet? Gojo Satoru actually said that he has found another student with the shadow magic formula? Advertisement. Is this guy across from me kidding me? Or are you saying that you are drunk and haven't sobered up yet? Gojo Satoru held the phone and kept it away from his ears. He knew how shocking the news would be to the Zenin family, so he was unwilling to tell the people directly about Zenin in such a hurry. If the principal hadn't pressed too hard today, he would definitely have to delay it for a few more days. Gojo Satoru, are you sure you read this correctly? Zenin continued to ask in disbelief. Oh, are you questioning me? Let me think about it. Well, it seems that I have made a mistake. This student of mine does not seem to know shadow magic. Goodbye, let's talk next time. After saying that, Gojo Satoru prepared to hang up the phone. When he heard Gojo Satoru's yin and yang, Zenin immediately stopped him. He was completely shocked by the news just now, so he asked this question without hesitation. Gojo Satoru possesses 6 eyes. Anyone may misread the technique, but only Gojo Satoru does not have this problem. The most important thing is that Gojo Satoru will not be so bored that he calls here to deceive himself. Where is that man now? I want to see him. Zenin came straight to the point. He wanted to see this person's shadow magic. At the moment, he's in Sendai and will return to the high school in 3 days. If you want to find him, you can come to the high school to see him in 3 days. However, let me tell you in advance, he is my student just like Wei. The rules of the Zenin family cannot control him. Gojo Satoru briefly explained Lu Ming's situation and then hung up the phone. After hanging up the phone, Gojo Satoru leaned against the back of the chair, put his slender legs on the table, and pushed the chair legs up and down. The eyes of the sky, which had been hidden behind the eye patch, were rarely exposed for a breath of air. Lu Ming, the teacher needs to study your identity. Although the Zenin family is a bit old-fashioned, they still have some abilities. Let them help me confirm your identity. After all, shadow magic is the ancestral magic of the Zenin family, isn't it? Advertisement. The corners of Gojo Satoru's mouth raised slightly. He was looking forward to what kind of measures the Zenin family would make. Although I have already reminded that Lu Ming is my student, it is impossible for an old guy like Zenin to just listen to me and just come to the high school in 3 days, right? If you underestimate Lu Ming, it will be the Zenin family that will suffer. After all, Lu Ming is not a gentle and courteous kitten like Wei. Zenin family mansion. Father, did you mention shadow magic on the phone just now? Is it Fushiguro Megumi? Zenin Naohua is in Naohido's room reporting on the status of the team. The Zenin family has 2 special organizations, namely, Bing and Kujuru. The leaders of these two special organizations are Zen and Naohua. The members of the Body Club are all members of the Zenin family who cannot awaken the magic. They train their bodies day and night just to do their best to serve the family. On the other hand, Baiei is a high-ranking organization on the body, with the same nature. The only difference is that the members of the Baiei organization are composed of quasi-first-level Jujutsu masters. Mastering these two organizations is equivalent to mastering the Zenin family's largest armed force. Historically, only the future head of the Zenin family was qualified to hold the position of head of the two families. As a first-level Jujutsu master, Zenin has his own sensitivity. His spell was inherited from his father Zenin's projection spell. It is a very powerful spell in the Zenin family. However, in terms of potential, it is still not as good as the 10 shadow spells inherited from the Zenin family. After knowing that he had a nephew who possessed 10 shadow magic spells, he was filled with jealousy. However, after learning that Fushiguro Megumi is the son of Zenin, his mood becomes more complicated. As his most admired son, it is not surprising that he seems to possess 10 shadow spells. Moreover, Gojo Satoru does not seem to be ready to let Fushiguro Megumi return to Zenin's house. In this case, Fushiguro Megumi will have no impact on his status. Therefore, Zenin Naohua has been deliberately not paying attention to the existence of Fushiguro Megumi. Advertisement, however, he did not expect that Gojo Satoru would take the initiative to call his father today and mention shadow magic. Is there something wrong with Fushiguro Megumi? If something really happened, as Fushiguro Megumi's uncle, shouldn't I do a little bit to save the face of the dead Sheer? Not Megumi. Zenin's mouth smelled of alcohol, but his face looked very sober. Gojo Satoru said he found another person with shadow magic, who is the same as Fushiguro Megumi and about the same age. Zenin Naohua's body trembled, and a look of disbelief appeared on his handsome face. Could it be that Fushiguro Megumi is not the only child in Zenin? Zenin Naohua's question made no one at Zenin know how to answer. He knew his son's admiration for Zenin, but the person who had the shadow magic was not related to Zenin, right? Zenin shook his head. That man's name is Lu Ming. He seems to be of Chinese blood. He has white hair. He basically has no resemblance to Sheer. Besides, Wei doesn't know this person, so it shouldn't be like you guessed. Zenin Naohua's expression froze, and then he realized that his guess was too shocking. Lu Ming. Where is this person now? Zenin Naohua didn't trust this shadow magic user who suddenly appeared. Shadow magic was originally the ancestral technique of the Zenin family. It is very rare for a Fushiguro Megumi to appear in this generation, but the appearance of a second shadow spell user is completely beyond common sense. He wondered if Gojo Satoru himself was deceived by Lu Ming and mistook other shadow spell-like spells as the 10 shadow spells of the Zenin family. He wanted to meet this man for himself. It was a mule or a horse, he wanted to walk it himself. Chapter 27. You still have to be a spiritual mentor. Previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement. Zenin took a deep look at his son, knowing his inner thoughts, and did not stop him. In Sendai. I will return to Tokyo in 3 days. At that time, we can go to the high school to meet. As soon as Zenin Naohua finished speaking, Zenin Naohua responded. I'm going to try this Lu Ming's strength. Father, don't worry. I will take Zinlang with me. I will not take action unless there are special circumstances. After all, I am a first-level Jujutsu master. It would be too embarrassing to bully a junior high school student. It just so happens that we can take this opportunity to test the strength of the club's remaining team. Zenin Naohua's words are impeccable, and Zenin Naohua people can't find any reason to refuse. Zenin Noburo, as the captain of the body club team, is indeed calm in his work, so there shouldn't be any big problems. Thinking of this, Zenin nodded. Then I'll leave it to you to confirm Lu Ming's identity. Yes, father. After leaving Zenin Naohua's room, Zenin Naohua took Zenin Noburo and the other 3 members of the body team and went to Sendai to find Lu Ming. Shan's hospital. Yuji, why don't you go see Grandpa first? I remember that your Reiken Senpei and Senpei are all okay, right? Lu Ming and Itadori Yuji appeared in the corridor of the hospital. He was quite surprised that Itadori Yuji actually cared about his former classmates after coming into contact with Jujutsu. The seniors were involved in this incident because of me. Senior Aguchi can't afford to be injured at the moment. No matter what, I should come over and take a look. Itadori Yuji sighed, feeling a little guilty. Advertisement. Don't think so much. Seeing that Itadori Yuji was a little depressed, Lu Ming came up and slapped him. According to Reiken's method of playing, even if you don't pick up Sukuna's finger, they themselves will encounter cursed object in the future. At least this time, you, Fushiguro Megumi, and me are here, right? I believe that after this time, they will not waste time and energy on this kind of thing again. What is this called? A blessing in disguise. Lu Ming shrugged. He was also very helpless towards the two seniors of Itadori, but he was somewhat grateful to them. When she saw Okkotsu and Sasaki, Riko told herself that these two people and Itadori Yuji had been to the temple together before. If they had not brought Itadori Yuji to the temple ruins, Itadori Yuji would not have accidentally opened the account in the basement. He might not wake up so soon. Without these two friends, I might have missed the main plot. Therefore, when he was in school, he also reciprocated the favor by helping these two people withstand splash damage from some special cursed spirits. Otherwise, these two ordinary humans would have been affected by the battle of the special cursed spirit. I hope so. Originally, the seniors were just curious about some supernatural phenomena, and I'm afraid they didn't expect that these things would actually happen. Itadori Yuji sighed, tightened the flowers in his arms, and walked into the ward with Lu Ming. Itadori. Seeing Itadori Yuji appear, Sasaki's eyes turned red. On the night when the cursed spirit attacked, she also had a vague memory. She knew that Itadori Yuji had appeared at the scene and even protected them. But after waking up, she and Okkotsu appeared in the hospital, but Itadori Yuji was nowhere to be seen. After confirming that something happened at the school, she has been worried about Itadori's safety. Now, seeing Itadori Yuji intact, her inner worries were finally relieved. Senior Sasaki, you don't have to worry about Okkotsu-senpai's health. I have already asked someone to come and treat you. Itadori Yuji put flowers in the bottle on the bedside, feeling a little depressed. Advertisement. Although the high school will send people to treat him, what happened that night must have left a huge psychological shadow on Senior Okkotsu and Senior Sasaki. Hearing Itadori Yuji's words and looking at the white-haired young man with sunglasses leaning at the door, she was able to confirm that the monsters she saw when she woke up midway that day were all real. Because, until this moment, she could still see the ferocious white monster following Lu Ming. Itadori, what appeared that day? Sasaki sat in her seat tremblingly, not daring to move. When she asked this question, her eyes glanced at Lu Ming from time to time. At this time, Lu Ming had tied up his long white hair and draped his slender ponytail behind his head. He looked very energetic and his appearance was very different from before. However, because of the existence of cursed spirit Riko, he was still recognized by Sasaki. Realizing that Sasaki could see Lizi, Lu Ming did not wait at the door, walked in with a smile, and came to Jinguchi's bedside. Sasaki-kun, right? You can see her, right? Lu Ming bent down and looked at Sasaki. 6 eyes behind the sunglasses inspected Sasaki's body. No, I can't see. Sasaki was startled by Lu Ming's actions, waved his hands quickly, and leaned back. Lu Ming. Realizing Sasaki's abnormality, Itadori Yuji quickly stopped him. It's okay, no problem. Lu Ming straightened up, stretched out his hand to comfort Lizi beside him, and explained gently. What you saw that day was not a monster, it was a curse. It all happened because of that finger, but that finger has been solved by Yuji. You are not wrong, it is Itadori's fault. Itadori picked up the finger and put you in crisis. Hearing Lu Ming's words, Itadori Yuji's mood became even lower. No, it's my fault. I shouldn't have asked Jinguchi to come to school at night. I shouldn't have opened the talisman wrapped around that finger out of curiosity. Lu Ming didn't expect that he would be interrupted by Sasaki just in the middle of what he said. Advertisement, I am the president of Reiken, and Itadori is just a nominal member. Everything is my problem. Fortunately, Itadori was not injured, otherwise I would feel guilty for the rest of my life. Itadori, thank you. Without you, Okkotsu and I would have died in the school by now. Please don't take this kind of thing to your heart. I heard before that you had transferred to another school, and I was so disappointed that I couldn't thank you in person. Itadori, thank you. Okkotsu must be thinking the same thing as me. Sasaki expressed his gratitude one after another, tremblingly speaking what was in his heart. Itadori Yuji stared blankly at Sasaki with reddish eyes, deeply touched in his heart. He always thought it was his mistake, but Senior Sasaki never thought that way. Do I really deserve Sasaki-senpai's gratitude? Lu Ming, who was watching everything, smiled slightly and patted Itadori Yuji's shoulder gently. Yuji, I'm thirsty. Can you buy me a bottle of water? As he spoke, he took out 2 coins and threw them to Itadori Yuji. Ah, if you want to drink, can't you buy it yourself? Itadori Yuji looked dissatisfied. He wanted to chat with his senior for a while. After returning to Jujutsu High School, they were really in 2 different worlds. Go. Who told me to be better than you? After Lu Ming finished speaking, Lizi turned to look at Itadori. His ferocious face and strong aura made Itadori obediently submit. Wait until I conquer Sukuna. Let's see if your cursed spirit is more powerful or mine. Itadori muttered, turned and left the ward. Hey, I want a Coca-Cola, the iced kind. Lu Ming's voice came. I know, it's really troublesome. Itadori Yuji waved his hand and disappeared through the door. Chapter 28. Light a cigarette that I haven't smoked in 150 years. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Yuji is gone. Sasaki-san, we can have a nice chat. You don't have to be afraid of Lizi. She is my guardian cursed spirit. You saw it that night. If it weren't for Lizi, you might all have died in the hands of that special curse. Lu Ming dragged a bench from the side and sat down. It seemed that because of Lu Ming's gentle tone, Sasaki nodded timidly and felt a little calmer. Although they still couldn't look directly at Lizi, thinking that this cursed spirit had saved them before, they were indeed not so scared now. During this gap, she also quietly looked at Lu Ming. Although the white hair and the sunglasses on his nose are very conspicuous, it must be said that Lu Ming's face is very handsome and looks very eye-catching. The axe-like facial lines paired with the gentle smile made Sasaki a little distracted for a moment. Lu Ming accepted Sasaki's inspection with a smile and expressed his purpose at the same time. Sasaki-kun, I believe you can guess that Itadori will no longer study in an ordinary high school in the future. Because of what happened that night, Yuji's future will face those powerful curse. So, I hope you can comfort him and relieve his inner guilt. Itadori always thought that it was him seeing the finger-cursed object that put you in crisis. Sasaki's expression became excited again. Not like this. Lu Ming smiled and nodded. I like your reaction very much, Sasaki-san, you did a great job. I hope you can talk to Itadori more about this topic when he comes back later. Itadori is a person who likes to think wildly. To put it bluntly, he is a little immature in his heart. As a senior, Sasaki-san takes the trouble to help him lead the way. Just treat it as a favor for me, okay? Hearing Lu Ming's good intentions and facing Lu Ming's gentle request, Sasaki's face turned red and he nodded lightly. This Lu Ming is really kind to Itadori. I am so happy that Itadori can have such a good friend. Close black lens bracket. It's a pity that Sasaki fainted when Lizi was fighting Cursed Spirit. If she had seen the scene where Lu Ming forced Itadori Yuji to swallow Sukuna's finger, maybe she wouldn't think so. Oh, by the way, Sasaki-san, you should have been able to see Curse since you woke up that day, right? Lu Ming suddenly asked. Advertisement, since you can see Lizi, can you see that thing? Lu Ming pointed at the corner of the wall. A weak level 4 cursed spirit huddled in the corner like a bug. Huh? I can see it. Sasaki took a cautious look and quickly lowered his head. It seems that Sasaki-san has awakened the physique of a psychic. He should be able to see Curse all the time in the future. This physique should have a great impact on your future life. If necessary, I can help Sasaki-san seal off these eyes. Lu Ming expressed his goodwill. In this era, having a pair of psychic eyes is not a good experience for ordinary people. Can these eyes turn back to normal? A hint of surprise appeared on Sasaki's face. Okay, Sasaki-san. Lu Ming nodded. If necessary, I can help you seal it now. Just when Lu Ming was about to take action, a trace of hesitation appeared on Sasaki's face. Otherwise, it's better not to give it up, right? Sasaki's answer surprised Lu Ming. Is this girl still thinking about contacting Curse through these eyes? Seeing Lu Ming's expression, Sasaki waved his hand quickly. It's not what you think. I thought that if I could see Curse, I should be able to protect myself better. I could also avoid myself and Okkotsu from encountering such a crisis again. I won't be curious about Curse, I will stay away from them. Lu Ming was silent for a few seconds, and finally nodded clearly. This can be regarded as a path, but he feels that the Lingon president is more curious about this special world. Okay. I'll leave a contact information when the time comes. If you encounter any problems, please call me in time. However, Sasaki-san, that world is really dangerous. Unless it is absolutely necessary, you should not come into contact with Curse easily. Advertisement. Lu Ming's expression became serious, and Sasaki nodded quickly. It's so troublesome. It's just that Lu Ming, you wanted to drink iced Coke, so I had to look for several self-service vending machines to find it. As Itadori Yuji's voice sounded, Lu Ming's serious expression returned to normal instantly. Thank you for your hard work, Yuji. I just chatted with Sasaki-san for a while. Then you can catch up on old times and I'll go for a walk outside. Lu Ming gave the room to Sasaki and Itadori Yuji, leaving them enough space. He hoped that this communication with Sasaki would make Itadori Yuji's mind more mature. Boss, bring me a pack of cigarettes. Lu Ming leisurely passed by the small shop, ready to buy a pack of cigarettes. From the time he traveled to this world to the present, careful calculation shows that he has not smoked a normal cigarette for almost 150 years. 150 years ago, during the Meiji era, cigarette rolling technology was not so developed, and he couldn't get used to smoking dry cigarettes. Now that he has been sleeping for 150 years and has entered the new century, he can finally get over his addiction to smoking, right? Go. Are you of age? Are you here to buy cigarettes? In Neon, People under the age of 20 are not allowed to smoke, so when the boss saw Lu Ming's youthful face, he immediately refused. Lu Ming curled his lips. He knew that his face was a bit tender, but really, he was already at least 160 years old, right? Doesn't this count as adulthood? Unfortunately, he now has nothing to prove his age, and there is no way to convince the owner of the small shop. In the end, Lu Ming could only leave in despair. However, after a while, Lu Ming already lit up a cigarette leisurely, leaned against the pillar of the flower bed, and started puffing away. Although the boss is unwilling to sell it to him, does he have other methods? Advertisement. After leaving, he directly asked Lizi to take a pack back from the small shop, and the other party couldn't see it anyway. However, this time, he did not buy it for 0 yuan. When he took the cigarettes, Lizi also left the corresponding fee. When he left the high school, he specially borrowed some money from Gojo Satoru, which was enough for him to live happily in this new century for a while. What? How do you think Lu Ming should pay back? Why should I, Lu Ming, pay back the money I borrowed from Gojo Satoru based on my strength? While swallowing the clouds and puffing out the mist, Lu Ming was looking around casually. He didn't know why, but he always felt like someone was watching him. However, after discovering that the people looking at him were ordinary people without any magic skills, Lu Ming didn't care and just thought they were curious about his appearance. After all, with his long white hair and round sunglasses, he does look a bit eye-catching. Half an hour later, when Lu Ming returned to the ward, Itadori Yuji's mood was much higher than before, and his whole spirit was completely different. Nice. It seems that Sasaki-san did a good job. Close black lens bracket. Yuji, we have to go. Yeah, Lu Ming, I get it. Itadori Yuji responded, and then said hello to Sasaki. Senior, I will go back first this time. Then I will return to Sendai and we will find another opportunity to get together. Well, Itadori, you should also pay attention to your own safety in the future. Sasaki nodded, his expression very peaceful. Okay, senior. Itadori Yuji grinned, waved to Sasaki, and walked towards the door of the ward. Lu Ming secretly extended his thumb and gave Sasaki a thumbs up, and both of them smiled knowingly. This trip to the hospital was considered a complete success. The next goal was the funeral parlor. Chapter 29: The True King Who Does Good Deeds Without Leaving His Name. Previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement. Meanwhile, somewhere else. Master Naohua, the target has been found. Wearing sunglasses and white hair, Lu Ming's features are very obvious. Ordinary people would find it difficult to find someone in a strange city, but for the Zenin family, one of the Big Three Sorcerer Families, it was just a matter of a few phone calls. Lu Ming and a pink-haired young man arrived in Sendai from Tokyo. Their first stop was Subazawa Hospital. They were visiting students from Miyagi Prefecture No. 3 High School. The day before yesterday, there was a building collapse inside No. 3 High School. These two students from the hospital were affected by this incident. It is understood that this time it was a cursed object recycling incident at Tokyo Jujutsu High School. The middle-aged man flipped through the information in his hand, was silent for a second, and continued. This time the cursed object was recovered by Fushiguro Megumi, a first-year student at Tokyo Jujutsu High School, who recovered the cursed object, Ryomen Sukuna's finger. An accident occurred during the recycling incident. Sukuna's finger was unsealed, attracting the special-grade cursed spirit. In the end, with the help of Lu Ming and Itadori Yuji, who swallowed Sukuna's finger and turned it into a container, the three of them defeated the special-grade cursed spirit. Then Gojo Satoru showed up and took the three of them back to Jujutsu High School. Zenin Naohua frowned slightly and asked in a deep voice. This Lu Ming and Itadori Yuji are both students of Miyagi Prefecture No. 3 High School. Why did these two people appear in Fushiguro Megumi's mission? Zenin shook his head. Itadori Yuji is a freshman at Miyagi Prefecture No. 3 High School and is a member of the same club as those affected this time. And Lu Ming. Zenin Xinlang turned to the next page. Regarding the information about Lu Ming, the source of the Zenin family actually gave a blank sheet. This person has no identity information, no name, and no appearance, as if he just appeared out of thin air. What? No information? In this new century of technologically advanced technology, it is impossible not to leave traces as long as it appears in the city. Advertisement. Unless Lu Ming was disguised, it would be impossible for him not to leave any traces. As expected, he is a person who dare not reveal his identity casually. Lu Ming, who bears the name of the Zenin family, must have ulterior motives. A sharp look flashed in Zenin Naoya's eyes. He didn't like it when someone borrowed the name of the Zenin family, and even used the family's most valued ancestral technique under his name. Master Naohua, do you need to take action directly? Zenin Noburo asked in a low voice. As the captain of the body, he acted according to Zenin Naoya's orders. No need at the moment, just follow me. After all, we are in the center of Sendai now, and it would not be good to cause too much trouble. Where are they going next? Zenin Naohua asked casually. Zenin read the information and responded. Itadori Yuji's grandfather died the night before yesterday and is still in the funeral home. This time the two of them returned to Sendai to bury Itadori Yuji's grandfather. So, next they go to the funeral home. Zenin nodded. Then let's go to the funeral home and wait for them. After all, they are also students of Gojo Satoru and classmates of Fushiguro Megumi. The Zenin family is not ready to fall out with Gojo Satoru yet. Sendai, funeral home. Yuji, after grandpa is cremated and buried, we will return to Tokyo. Have you really thought about it? Are you going to face this wave of Youngi in the future? Lu Ming crossed his legs and sat outside the cremation room door with Itadori Yuji, chatting casually. Advertisement, now, Mr. Gojo is not here, and there is no one else, you can tell your truth. Don't worry, I won't tell the senior high school student. Itadori Yuji hesitated for a few seconds and looked at Lu Ming. The danger of Ryomen Sukuna is really great, right? Lu Ming pursed his lips, pushed up the sunglasses on the bridge of his nose, and said in a deep voice. King of Curses, the danger must be great. However, Yuji, you have to be fully prepared. If you want to find Zenuo, you will inevitably witness a miserable scene. Even me or Fushiguro may die in Curse's hands, so it's unrealistic for me to say that you won't end up like this. However, one has to choose a path that one likes, right? Since there are hells on both sides of the road ahead, you have to choose a hell that you like and jump to, right? Lu Ming held his chin, waiting for Itadori Yuji's answer. Itadori Yuji fell into silence, and Lu Ming just smiled and did not urge him. For a moment, standing in front of his grandfather's remains, Itadori Yuji recalled his grandfather's words. You are strong, you must learn to save others. Itadori felt a little depressed. As he picked up the burned remains of his grandfather one by one, he asked in a low voice. Does it mean that if I control Sukuna, I can destroy the curse in the entire world? In this way, will the curse no longer be able to harm the world? Lu Ming paused. Such a result was something he had never expected. Brother Huzi's ambition was a bit too great, wasn't it? Huh? Well, probably not. Sukuna is just the most powerful king of curses, but it is not the origin of all curses. Therefore, even if you control Sukuna, there will still be other curses in the world. Lu Ming stared at Itadori Yuji's back and laughed. However, if you really have the power of Ryomen Sukuna, then you will be able to destroy enough curses. In this case, more people in this world will indeed be saved by you. Advertisement, when you die, you will definitely be surrounded by people and flowers. After listening to Lu Ming's words, Itadori Yuji paused for more than 10 seconds, and then carefully closed the urn. Under the gaze of his grandfather's portrait, he turned to look at Lu Ming, a light flashing in his eyes. Lu Ming, thank you. If I hadn't met you before, I would have eaten this Sukuna finger. If I hadn't met you, maybe I would still be hesitating at this time. Thank you for waking me up. Lu Ming, among kings and mounts, I will be the king, and Ryomen Sukuna will become my mount and become part of my power. Itadori Yuji's eyes flashed with determination. At this time, Yuji was completely in two different states from the one in the original work. Realizing the changes in Itadori Yuji, Lu Ming kept nodding secretly. To be honest, he did not expect that his transformation of Itadori Yuji would be so smooth. He originally thought that forcing Itadori to eat the finger would make Tora hate him for a long time. I didn't expect Brother Huzi to be so open-minded, and he figured it out directly. This kind of self-pua ability is rare in the world. This made Lu Ming himself doubt whether he was really doing it for his own good by letting Itadori Yuji swallow his finger. Didn't it seem like I was just acting out of necessity at the beginning? Do you expect a person from the chaotic neutral alignment to think that far ahead? At that time, I was just thinking more about my future. Well, but now that Itadori Yuji thinks so, and what he has done has indeed helped Itadori. Then, let him take the credit. There is no way, who told him to do good deeds and not want to leave his name. Chapter 30 Zenin Naohua appears previous chapter next chapter. Advertisement during the process of going to the cemetery, Lu Ming's face was full of smiles, which was somewhat contrary to the goal of their profession. Itadori Yuji, who was holding the urn, looked puzzled. He really didn't know what was so funny. Master, please drive faster, we have something to solve quickly. Lu Ming said hello to the driver, and then began to silently pay attention to the rearview mirror of the vehicle. Are you really following this car? Close black lens bracket seeing several cars behind them also speeding up after their taxi, the corners of Lu Ming's mouth rose slightly. He didn't expect that on the third day after the world woke up, people would already start paying attention to him and Itadori Yuji. Who is it? Is it Kensuo? Naohua thinks he is too close to his child. He shouldn't be able to recognize himself in Lizi who turned into a cursed spirit right now, right? Or is it some secular organization? It stands to reason that since the events that I and Itadori Yuji were involved in before were at a high school, they should not be noticed by others. Gojo Satoru has already taken action personally, and the tale that needs to be closed should have been closed. Lu Ming's heart was full of interest. He was curious, who in this Sendai city would put so much effort into tracking him and Itadori? He wants to know who is the target of this group of stalkers, himself or Itadori. Sendai Cemetery. Advertisement. After the staff helped to bury the ashes in the urn, Itadori Yuji put his hands together and bowed with his eyes closed. Okay, Yuji, someone is coming to see us. Who's looking for us? Hearing Lu Ming's voice, Itadori Yuji opened his eyes. At some point, 4 strangers appeared around him. To be honest, I feel like the person behind the scenes is quite particular. At least he made us finish all the things we were doing before showing up. Lu Ming smiled playfully. Sure enough, when I was in the hospital before, I didn't sense that something was wrong. It turned out that these people were actually observing me silently. Unexpectedly, they were just 4 ordinary people without any magic skills. Could it be that the people behind the scenes don't belong to the Jujutsu world? Hello, before we take action, let me ask, are the 4 of you looking for me or him? Lu Ming pointed at himself and then at Itadori Yuji beside him. Seeing that the leader's middle-aged man's eyes were always focused on him, Lu Ming understood. It turns out that the target is himself, which is a bit surprising. Close black lens bracket. Lu Ming smiled and said to Yuji, Yuji, please go and stay aside. These 4 people came to see me. When Itadori Yuji heard this, his eyes widened and he said dissatisfied. Since this group of people is targeting you, how could I stand idly by? Lu Ming was slightly moved by the loyal Itadori Yuji, but then he said, we're just 4 ordinary people. Don't underestimate me, okay? You might take action and hold me back. Why are you so ready to let Sukuna borrow your body so soon? Advertisement. Lu Ming's scolding voice made Itadori Yuji instantly realize his situation. Yes, without Sukuna's existence, he is currently just an ordinary high school student with strong physical fitness. The 4 muscular men in front of him were not like the cursed spirit from the night before, who would be attracted by the Sukuna fingers in their hands. Therefore, even if he joins the battle, he probably won't be able to attract firepower. Okay, then I'll watch from the side. Itadori Yuji nodded. In his opinion, Lu Ming, protected by the special cursed spirit glass, would never lose to the 4 people in front of him. It'll be fine soon. Lu Ming stretched out his hand to comfort Lizi. To deal with ordinary people, Lizi didn't need to take action. After all, this is Grandpa Itadori's purpose. If Lizi takes action, the entire cemetery may be destroyed. Crushing bones and ashes? This is also a bit too sinful. Just use shadow magic to get rid of these 4 people. Just an ordinary person, a jade dog should be enough. Close black lens bracket. Lu Ming's mind moved, and the shadow on his back made a dog-like hand shadow. Then, he shouted. Jade dog. 2 jade dogs, 1 black and 1 white, appeared at the same time and rushed directly towards Zenin and the 4 others. Lu Ming immediately struck first, and he was not prepared to let these 4 people pull out any trump cards. Since these 4 ordinary people dared to appear in front of him, they must have special confidence. Zenin's face changed slightly when he heard the word, Tomadog. Although they couldn't see the cursed spirit and Shikigami, he still clearly felt the change in the power of the curse. Jade dog. This is one of the 10 shadow spells of the Zenin family. Why does the white-haired young man in front of me use it? Advertisement. Zenin Noburo didn't know Zenin Naoya's true purpose of coming to Sendai this time, so he still suspected that Lu Ming was deceiving them. But the next second, Zenin Naoya stood directly in front of them and kicked the 2 invisible creatures away with 2 consecutive kicks. At this moment, Zenin Xinlang realized that the jade dog in Lu Ming's mouth might be real. Zenin Naoya is a first-level Jujutsu master, and now he appears because of Lu Ming's technique, which is enough to prove the power of Lu Ming's technique. Master Naoya, I'm sorry. Noburo Zenin apologized for letting Zenin Naoya take action. As the captain of Katsuru, this mission was an opportunity to prove Kukuru's strength. Please believe us, we can subdue this person in front of us. Zenin Xinlang didn't want to retreat. However, Zenin Naoya is not ready to give Zenin Noburo a chance. The man in front of you has used shadow magic. He is not an ordinary Jujutsu master, and he is not something you can deal with. Go and catch the Itadori Yuji next to you. He doesn't have any techniques yet, so he is your opponent. However, don't hurt him. After all, he is Gojo Satoru's student. A trace of shame appeared on Zenin's face, but in the end he nodded. The 3 words shadow magic are out of reach for everyone in the Zenin family. If Lu Ming really used shadow magic just now, then this enemy is indeed not something they can handle. Oh ho, I didn't expect, It turns out that the people behind the scenes this time are the Zenin family, close black lens bracket. Lu Ming looked at Zenin Naohua and probably guessed the reason. Teacher Gojo, this is a bit unkind. I asked why I was given 3 days. It turned out that it was to give me time to communicate with the Zenin family. Close black lens bracket. It's a pity that everyone I met at Zenin's house is gone. Besides, I don't have many good memories. I really don't want to go back to Zenin's house. Close black lens bracket. Lu Ming shook his head and stared at Zenin, thinking about how to deal with this junior. However, when Zenin Naohua turned his head and looked at Lu Ming, a figure appeared in Lu Ming's mind. Chapter 31 Projection Spell. Who would be a serious person to design such a skill that is incomprehensible? Previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement. Zenin Naohua has a very handsome appearance. He wears a black wide-sleeved haori on the upper body, a wide collar shirt underneath, and a loose light hakama on the lower body. The naturally raised corners of his eyes reminded Lu Ming subconsciously of someone from the Zenin family. This was one of the few good memories he had at Zenin's house. Are they her descendants? Forget it. Let's save some face for her. Close black lens bracket. Lu Ming originally planned to directly use Lizi's power to deal with Zenin Naohua, but when he saw Zenin Naohua's appearance, he gave up. Although this matter is the fault of the Zenin family, who said Lord Lu Ming is so generous. The Zenin family is not ready to directly confront the high school, is it? That person is also a student of Gojo Satoru. Taking action like this will give others a bad association. The Zenin family and the high school are the mainstays of the Jujutsu world. It would not look good if there was a conflict. Lu Ming waved, and the 2 jade dogs that had just been kicked away by Zenin came to sit next to him, one on the left and the other on the right. Zenin Naohua narrowed his eyes slightly. He has never met Lu Ming, but the 2 jade dogs summoned by Lu Ming have proven that he has the blood of the Zenin family. Gojo Satoru did not deceive the Zenin family. The Lu Ming in front of him really had 10 shadow magic spells. However, listening to Lu Ming's somewhat old-fashioned words, Zenin's expression was full of disdain. Advertisement. He didn't know why Lu Ming had the shadow spell, but this was not the reason he warned himself. Lu Ming, come back to the Zenin family with me. You are the bloodline of the Zenin family that has been lost, and you need to be recertified by the Zenin family. Zenin Naohua directly expressed his thoughts. No matter who Lu Ming is, now that he knows that Lu Ming really has shadow magic, he can only bring him back to Zenin's house. Oh, why should I go to Zenin's house? Isn't Fushiguro Megumi not at Zenin's house either? Seeing Lu Ming comparing himself to Fushiguro Megumi, Zenin Naohua looked a little unhappy. If you don't want to, then I can only take you back myself. Zenin frowned and was ready to take action. Although the 10 shadow spells are powerful, they also depend on the user. The person in front of him does not look very strong. The only thing that makes Zenin hesitate is the special cursed spirit behind Lu Ming. Lu Ming's action of stroking the cursed spirit just now was also seen by him. Obviously, this cursed spirit has a very close relationship with Lu Ming. Such a scene reminded him of Okkotsu Yūta's victory over Sha Yuja last year. Could it be that this white-haired young man also possesses the same technique as Okkotsu Yūta? This cursed spirit should also possess special cursed spirit strength, right? Zenin frowned. So Lu Ming's trump card is this cursed spirit? It's okay, Zenin Naohua, right? Let me see the strength of the younger generation of the Zenin family first. I won't let Lizi take action until the critical moment. If you want me to go to Zenin's house, you have to prove that there is something worthwhile about Zenin's house. Advertisement. Lu Ming was a little hesitant when he saw Zenin Naohua, but he was also very considerate and asked Lizi to stay away. Now that he has forgiven Zenin Naohua for this attack, he might as well learn more about the current strength of the Zenin family. Seeing Lu Ming being so arrogant, Zenin's expression was a little ugly. Lu Ming's actions meant that he did not take himself seriously. You look down on people too much, Lu Ming. Zenin Naohua no longer hesitated. Without the protection of this special cursed spirit, how could he stop him with just 2 jade dogs? Zenin leaned closer and directly used the projection spell. The principle of the projection spell is very complex. 1 second is divided into 24 equal parts, and one's own field of vision is used as the perspective, and the default actions within the perspective are copied. During the activation of the technique, the object touched by Zenin Naohua's palm must also move in 1/24 second units. If it fails, the action will be stuck and you will be unable to move for a second. At the same time, this move also has risks. The first is that during the copying process, the actions that have been set cannot be modified. Second, if you set an action that ignores the laws of physics, you will also be unable to move. This is a technique that relies on powerful storyboarding capabilities and time perception. In the entire Jujutsu world, except for Gojo Satoru and his father Zenin, his speed can be regarded as the fastest. Therefore, even if facing the special cursed spirit Riko, Zenin Naohua is confident that he can defeat her. Advertisement after all, the principle of this technique is too complicated. Even if Lu Ming really realized the essence of this technique, his body would not be able to react within 1/24th of a second. What's more, Lu Ming was so confident that he directly told the special cursed spirit to stay away. In an instant, Zenin Naohua had preset 24 movements in 1 second. At the last move, his fist would hit Lu Ming and immobilize him directly. But will everything really go as smoothly as Zenin imagined? Lu Ming raised his eyebrows. The pair of heavenly eyes behind his sunglasses had already seen through Zenin Naohua's movements. The moment he completed 24 actions, Lu Ming had summoned Nu simultaneously. Nu stood directly in front of Lu Ming, avoiding Zenin's touch. What? How is that possible? Seeing his fist hit Nu, Zenin was very shocked. It was the first time he saw someone react so quickly when facing a projection spell for the first time. Was it an accidental collision? Zenin Naohua used the technique again, and this time what greeted his last movement was the sharp teeth of the dog. If Zenin hadn't dodged quickly enough, his arm might have been bitten by the dog. This Lu Ming can really keep up with the movements of projecting spells. Why is his reaction speed so fast? Aside from Gojo Satoru's 6 eyes, only Shear's reflexes can keep up with mine. Close black lens bracket. Even my father, when faced with my projection spell, can only use the projection spell to offset it. Close black lens bracket. Zenin Naohua's heart was filled with shock. He never imagined that behind Lu Ming's sunglasses, there was actually a pair of eyes of the sky hidden. Chapter 32 Men are fickle. 2 Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Zenin Naohua has a character that refuses to admit defeat. After being blocked by Shikigami many times, the movements he made with the help of projection spells began to become larger and larger, almost approaching the limit of the human body. At the same time, he also tried to use Itadori Yuji to influence Lu Ming's emotions. Your companion will be caught soon. You are so strong, why don't you save him? Zenin Naohua hopes to use Itadori Yuji's safety to distract Lu Ming so that he can't keep up with the rhythm of his spell casting. However, it was a pity that Lu Ming's expression did not change at all when he heard this sentence. Hey, have you underestimated him? If I'm not wrong, these people are from the body club, right? If it's just a competition of physical strength, Yuji won't be afraid of anyone at all. Zenin Naohua's expression changed. Why did the person in front of him know Zenin's identity? This Lu Ming seems to know the Zenin family very well. Just when Zenin Naohua was about to ask, there were several muffled sounds not far away. Lu Ming, they are attacking the few with more, and they are a bit ungrateful. Itadori Yuji's voice came, and at this time, Zenin Naohua discovered that among the 4 people left in the team, only Zenin Noburo was still fighting against Itadori Yuji, and the other 3 ordinary members had been beaten down. Am I right? Lu Ming's voice rang in his ears, and the next second, Zenin Naohua found that he could not complete his preset action, and the special cursed spirit glass had appeared on his path. This Lu Ming doesn't even talk about martial ethics. Didn't you say you won't let this special grade cursed spirit take action? Close black lens bracket. Zenin Naohua's eyes widened, full of resentment towards Lu Ming. Bye-bye. Lu Ming smiled and waved to Zenin Naohua. Then, for a second when Zenin Naohua froze, Lizi's attack hit his flesh, causing him to lose his fighting ability. Feeling Zenin Naohua's resentment, Lu Ming sighed helplessly. Advertisement. We are enemies. How can you believe what your enemies say? Besides, men are also fickle, you little kid from the Zenin family. Lu Ming shook his head and said something that made Zenin Naohua vomit blood in anger. My mental endurance is still too weak. You are already in your 20s, so you shouldn't have suffered any setbacks, right? Close black lens bracket. No wonder after Mirai died at the hands of Zenin Maki's mother, he would transform into a cursed spirit and join the death journey. Close black lens bracket. If it weren't for the fact that you were suspected of being her descendant, I wouldn't bother to care about you. Close black lens bracket. Lu Ming stretched out and untied Nu and Hundog's spells. This battle was enough for him to take Zenin Naohua seriously, and it should be enough for him to go back and grow up. As for what happens next, it depends on what the Zenin family wants to do. If the Zenin family insists on finding fault with themselves, then I will really have to look pitifully to teacher Gojo for help. Now that Gojo Satoru has leaked information about him and Yuji, he will be blamed for being a loser and get into big trouble. Before, I only understood the character of the characters through the original work. Sure enough, it was still too labeled. Close black lens bracket. Zenin family, if you want to contact me, just show your sincerity to me. Close black lens bracket. Lu Ming didn't care about Zenin Naohua, who had been knocked unconscious by Lizi, and wandered to Itadori Yuji's battlefield. Yuji, can you get rid of him quickly? We are still rushing back. Don't let this kind of thing affect your grandfather's purity. Lu Ming looked at the stalemate between Zenin Noburo and Itadori Yuji with a very bored expression. He had guessed just now that the Zenin Noburo quartet were members of the Zenin family, but he still didn't think Itadori Yuji would lose. After all, Itadori Yuji is Kenzo's most perfect work. Lu Ming is still very confident in the old silver coin, Kensuo. Advertisement on the other side, Zenin Xinlang's expression changed instantly when he saw Lu Ming appearing next to him. At this time, Lu Ming appeared here, which meant that Zenin Naohua lost this battle. How can it be? Master Zenin Naohua is a first-level Jujutsu master, and he also possesses the Zenin family's extremely powerful projection spell. How could he lose to a Jujutsu high school student? Even if Lu Ming really possesses 10 kinds of shadow spells, there is no way he can kill a first-level Jujutsu master so quickly. Zenin Noburo was concerned about Zenin Naoya's safety, and while distracted, the opportunity was suddenly seized by Itadori Yuji. Uncle, it's not a good habit to be distracted during a fight. Itadori Yuji took a lunge and an uppercut, directly hitting Zenin's vitals. The captain of the club team was knocked out by a high school student like this. Such a result is probably something the Zenin family would never expect, right? Lu Ming clapped perfunctorily. Under Six Eyes' observation, he also realized the changes in Itadori Yuji. Obviously, Itadori Yuji's movements and fighting experience are much more mature than the night before. Moreover, the range of movements is also greater than before. Swallowing Sukuna's finger not only made Itadori Yuji's spell stronger, but also secretly affected Itadori Yuji's body. If Lu Ming hadn't had 6 eyes, he might not have been able to observe the subtle changes. Is it Sukuna's influence? Close black lens bracket. Lu Ming touched his chin and realized that the relationship between Sukuna and Itadori had deviated from the beginning of the main plot. He remembered that in the original world line, Itadori Yuji's body should not have undergone such changes. Advertisement. Lu Ming looked suspicious. Maybe it happened in the original work, but it was not marked. However, he is still more inclined to deviate from the main line. As for whether this is good or bad, Lu Ming doesn't know, but from the current point of view, Sukuna's strengthening of Itadori Yuji's body is still real. Lu Ming, what's going on with these people? Why did they come to attack us? Itadori Yuji shook his hand, and he actually defeated 4 adults in a row during this period. Such a record was considered brilliant for him. If he joins the high school fighting club now, maybe he can become the club's ace. Huh? He didn't attack us, he came to find me. These people are all from the Zenin family. Lu Ming responded, said hello to Itadori Yuji, and turned around to leave. Zenin's house. Itadori Yuji doesn't know much about the Jujutsu world, so he doesn't know what the Zenin family means to the Jujutsu world. What kind of family is this? Is it very powerful? Itadori Yuji followed Lu Ming and asked casually. After all, he had just encountered such a thing, and he was still very curious about the identities of these people. Well, how should I put it? I can't say it's amazing, but it can be said to be very powerful. Of course, excluding the group of special-level cursed spirit and special-level Jujutsu masters. Lu Ming added this in his heart. In the Jujutsu world, there are 3 long-lasting families. They are called the Big Three Sorcerer Families of the Jujutsu world by Jujutsu masters. They control the power of the Jujutsu world and maintain the order they insist on. Hearing Lu Ming start telling a story, Itadori Yuji became serious. He, a newbie in the Jujutsu world, was very curious about everything in the Jujutsu world. Chapter 33. Itadori, give Sukuna 3 minutes, I want to beat him. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. The Zenin family is one of the Big Three Sorcerer Families in the Jujutsu world. It is equivalent to the most powerful family in the entire Jujutsu world. Lu Ming recalled his experience at Zenin's house. Although it was basically not a good memory, he still introduced Zenin's house to Itadori Yuji very objectively. That's it? Is it equivalent to being a noble in the Jujutsu world? In the magical country of Neon, although it has entered the new century, Neon people seem to have a tacit understanding of class stratification. The status of a noble cannot be stated openly, but everyone seems to recognize it. Lu Ming nodded. That's right. The Zenin family is indeed considered a noble in the Jujutsu world. Your Fushiguro-san is also a member of the Zenin family. Itadori Yuji paused, his face full of confusion. Fushiguro-san? How can he be a member of the Zenin family? His surname is not Zenin. Haha, this involves historical issues. Fushiguro Megumi's father is a member of the Zenin family, but he later married into someone else's family, so Fushiguro Megumi is not named Zenin. However, the shadow spell used by Fushiguro Megumi is the Zenin family's most precious ancestral spell. It is equivalent to the Zenin family's strongest spell. It has great potential. The Zenin family must have always wanted Fushiguro Megumi to return. Lu Ming sighed with emotion. Although they are all classmates now, Fushiguro Megumi can be regarded as the patriarch of the Zenin family in the future. Is shadow magic only available to the Zenin family? When Lu Ming's mind was empty, Itadori Yuji suddenly asked this sentence. Oh, that's right. It's an ancestral technique of the Zenin family. Only the Zenin family can use it. Lu Ming answered subconsciously, and then he realized Itadori Yuji's purpose. It seems that, Lu Ming, you are also a member of the Zenin family. Advertisement. Seeing Itadori's proud face, Lu Ming also looked helpless. Who said that Hu Zi was simple and honest, but he was also very clever when using his cleverness. Lu Ming did not admit or deny it. After genetic modification experiments, his bloodline is actually not that pure anymore, although his previous physical foundation was Zenin Ming. However, after integrating Gojo's 6 eyes and Kamo's red blood manipulation genes, he was equivalent to a reorganized person. At this time, it is okay to say that he is a Zenin family, a Kamo family, or a Gojo family. However, Lu Ming felt that he was still Lu Ming. After all, his face was his original face. What about the other 2 families? They are also nobles, right? Seeing Lu Ming's silence, Itadori Yuji changed the subject and continued to ask. The other 2, one is the Kamo family and the other is the Gojo family. These 3 families are the 3 major families in the entire Jujutsu world, and they are also the 3 strongest families. Lu Ming followed Itadori Yuji's topic and continued to popularize science for Hu Zi. Kamo family? Never heard of it. Gojo's house? Is this the Gojo's house I think of? When he heard the words Gojo's house, Itadori Yuji's eyes widened and he looked straight at Lu Ming, full of suspicion. Seeing this scene, Lu Ming was also amused. Yes, it's the Gojo family you're thinking of. It's the family that Mr. Gojo belongs to. Wow, Itadori Yuji opened his mouth wide and murmured subconsciously. I can't tell. I didn't expect that Mr. Gojo is also a noble. Advertisement. Well, that's not all. Teacher Gojo is the representative of the Gojo family, and he is considered the leader of the Gojo family. Lu Ming deliberately pointed out the identity of Gojo Satoru, once again making Itadori Yuji feel the difference in identity. He's actually a great noble, alas. Itadori sighed. They were both neon people, and the gap between them was really too big. Otherwise, what do you think? If Mr. Gojo didn't have such a special status, would the top management of the Jujutsu Masters Association agree to your application for a reprieve of death? It's not because of Mr. Gojo's strength and background that they could only hold their noses and agree, right? Lu Ming curled his lips and glanced at Itadori Yuji with disgust. You don't really think that the Jujutsu Masters Association would look so far ahead and ask you to swallow all Sukuna's fingers before you die? Gojo Satoru fought for all this. Yuji, whether it's for yourself or for the sacrifices your companions have made for you, you have to think about how to control the Ryoman Sukuna in you. Itadori Yuji's mind is still too simple. He can't understand many things unless he points them out. Although Gojo Satoru's personality is not very likable, Lu Ming still approves of his attitude towards life. Therefore, he hopes that Itadori Yuji can still stand firmly in the same camp as Gojo Satoru. Although his own position is flexible, he still hopes that others will stick to their positions. Be lenient to yourself and strict to others. This is fun. If you want to control me, this kid won't really be brainwashed by your theory about kings and mounts, right? He should feel honored to be my vessel. Advertisement. I will take him to stand on the top of the world again. Sukuna's eyes opened on Itadori Yuji's face, and Sukuna's sharp teeth spoke on Itadori's cheek. Fortunately, there was no one around, otherwise it would be a big news if he was seen. Hearing that Sukuna still said these words, Lu Ming shook his head in disgust. If he were a native of this world, he might really believe Sukuna's words. But, unfortunately, he had seen the scene of Sukuna cutting Gojo Satoru in half. At that time, it was not Itadori Yuji's body that Sukuna could use. Hey, man. Lu Ming raised his eyebrows. Sure enough, from this moment on, Sukuna had already begun to hint at the importance of Itadori's body to him. I believe that those who have paid attention to Sukuna and Itadori from the beginning would never have thought that Sukuna would one day change a body and transfer from Itadori Yuji's body to Fushiguro Megumi's body. Perhaps because he didn't use all his strength just now, Lu Ming suddenly felt that his bones were itchy. Sukuna suddenly spoke now, which made him feel very unhappy. Yuji, lend yourself to Sukuna for 3 minutes. In 3 minutes, come back on time, and I'll entertain this king of curses. Lu Ming sneered and looked into Sukuna's eyes under the corners of Itadori Yuji's eyes. Okay, be careful. Itadori Yuji felt the change in Lu Ming's mood, and without saying anything else, he nodded and logged off to change his number. He had just realized that if Lu Ming was really from the Zenin family, then what exactly did these strangers who attacked Lu Ming want to do to Lu Ming? Perhaps, this is the fundamental reason why Lu Ming is unhappy at this time. Chapter 34 Sukuna, we are going to beat you up in your field. Previous chapter next chapter advertisement, kid. You don't really think you can beat me, do you? A sinister smile appeared on Sukuna's face. The black markings on his face combined with this smile made people feel uncomfortable. Sukuna didn't expect Lu Ming to give him such a chance. Itadori Yuji also really obeyed Lu Ming's words and gave him 3 minutes to control. These 3 minutes were enough for him to accomplish his goal. Even with the protection of this special cursed spirit, Sukuna was confident of taking over Lu Ming's body. Although a few minutes ago, he was hinting at the importance of Itadori Yuji's body to himself. However, how could he hold back when there was another body with unlimited potential in front of him? Lu Ming, who has 10 shadow magic techniques, is more suitable for him than Itadori Yuji, who knows nothing. Therefore, the moment he took control of Itadori Yuji's body, Sukuna directly formed a seal with his hands on his chest, and he wanted to continue the unfinished attack. Domain expansion. The demon-suppressing chef. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity was presented to him, and Ryomen Sukuna was not about to waste it. In his opinion, as long as domain expansion succeeds, Lu Ming cannot escape. He couldn't wait to see Lu Ming's panic expression. What a king and mount. He wanted to see if Lu Ming had the ability to have absolute control over his body like Itadori Yuji when his body was occupied by him. A drop of water dripped and ripples spread on the ground. The whole world seemed to have suddenly turned into a lake, and on this endless lake, a scarlet Buddhist niche appeared out of thin air, with Sukuna sitting in it, perfectly integrated with the entire picture. Field. I've never experienced it before. The corners of Lu Ming's mouth curved. If you were stronger, maybe I would still be worried now. Advertisement. Lu Ming just stood in the domain of the demon-subduing chef, looking around casually. He was curious about how powerful Sukuna's effect in this field was, now that he only had the strength of 2 fingers. It's shameless to talk big. It seems that because of the expansion of the field, Sukuna's face has become more calm than before. In this field, he is the king. If it weren't for the fact that he coveted Lu Ming's body, he could directly activate resolution to cut Lu Ming into pieces now. This is Sukuna's confidence. However, Lu Ming, who is in the field, is also confident. At the moment when the demon-suppressing chef unfolded, he successfully activated the unlimited technique, Stop Power. After fighting Gojo Satoru the day before yesterday, he had been trying to use this technique. However, due to the complexity of the technique and the requirements for using 6 eyes, Lu Ming didn't have a rough grasp of it until he arrived in Sendai today. Although there is currently no way to deploy it 24 hours a day like Gojo Satoru, it can be regarded as a very strong defensive skill of its own at this time. Of course, this is not Lu Ming's confidence to resist Ryomen Sukuna's domain. His confidence is on the other side. Among the demon-suppressing chefs, he felt infinitely connected to the other 9 Cursed Fetuses. In the realm, Lu Ming had no shadow, only the reflection of the lake below his feet. Through this reflection, Lu Ming clearly saw the location of the 9 Cursed Fetuses in the reflection. Lizi, who was behind him, also saw this scene and became very excited. At this moment, Lu Ming felt that his connection with the 9-phase diagram of the Cursed Fetus and Lizi had become closer. Ha ha! Lu Ming suddenly laughed. This scene made Sukuna's face full of suspicion. He didn't know what was going on with Lu Ming. Why can he be so relaxed when he is clearly in his own field? Unhappy, Sukuna raised his hand, and a red curse flash shot towards Lu Ming's right leg like a laser. For the sake of this body, he was not prepared to kill Lu Ming, but it was still possible to maim him. Advertisement. However, what surprised him in the next scene was that his curse flash was directly deflected. Sukuna suddenly frowned. This shouldn't be the case. Being in your own domain, your attacks should be sure to hit. Even if Lizi is protecting you, your attacks shouldn't be deflected. The only thing that can resist the realm is the realm. Could it be that Lu Ming has already expanded his field? Sukuna's expression changed slightly. He realized something was wrong and felt Lu Ming's state at this moment. Has the shadow magic been developed to this extent by him? Seeing the seemingly invisible black shadow around Lu Ming, Sukuna's face was filled with emotion. It's surprising that we can use shadows to simulate the effects of a simple field in such a short time. And, is this an unlimited technique? Ryomen Sukuna kept shaking his head in shock, but he already had confirmation in his heart. The person in front of me not only possesses shadow magic, but also masters unlimited magic at the same time. Although the technique seems very crude, it is a genuine technique with no lower limit. I didn't expect that behind your sunglasses you would also find a pair of 6 eyes. The Zenin family came to look for you because of the shadow magic. If the Gojo family knew about your 6 eyes, how would they treat you? I'm a little curious, kid Lu Ming. Lu Ming was a little dissatisfied when he heard that Ryomen Sukuna began to use words to affect his emotions. He didn't enter Sukuna's realm just to listen to his nonsense. 3 minutes, now, 1 minute has passed. I asked Yuji to let you out, not to chat with you. Sukuna, this time, in your domain, I will beat you up. An indulgent smile appeared on Lu Ming's lips. 3 figures emerged from behind him, and a hint of joy appeared on Lizi's ferocious face. Advertisement: the 9-phase diagram of the cursed fetus, the swollen phase, the bad phase, and the bloody phase were summoned by Lu Ming for the first time. The shadow is slowly taking shape. Different from the appearance of the body, because the carrier is Lu Ming's shadow. The appearance of the 3 people is similar to Lu Ming, but the appearance features are slightly different. The bloated appearance still has the same pair of dead fish eyes, the bad-looking hair is still sparse, and the blood-smeared body is slightly larger than that of his 2 brothers. Hiss, Lizi kept roaring, blocking every spell flash from Sukuna. Although he didn't know what the 3 shadows behind Lu Ming were, Sukuna was not prepared to let them take shape. However, it is a pity that Lu Ming was not affected in any way due to the protection of Lizi and the power of stopping. The swollen phase, bad phase, and bloody phase come successfully. 4 cursed spirits? According to this era, they should all be classified as special level? Ryomen Sukuna's expression was a little surprised. Lu Ming's performance far exceeded his imagination. From Shadow Spell to Guardian Cursed Spirit, these 2 spells are already rare in the world. Today, the Unlimited Technique and the Cursed Spirit Technique were demonstrated again. Sukuna was already a little uncontrollably excited, if he had been prepared to choose between Fushiguro Megumi and Lu Ming before. At this moment, he had completely determined his thoughts. He wanted to get Lu Ming's body. Only this body is what he wants most. Come on, Lizi. Under the command of Lu Ming, the 3 brothers of Zhangshang and the 4 special cursed spirits of Lizi launched an attack on Sukuna at the same time. Because the carriers of the 3 people were shadows, Lu Ming was not worried about their safety. As long as the cursed fetus is not damaged, they can then be reborn with the help of their own shadow. Originally, he relied on no lower limit technique and Lizi. However, after entering the realm of the demon-subduing chef, he truly realized that the 9 cursed fetuses that he had vaguely sensed before had been hidden in his shadow. Sorry Sukuna, we are going to beat you up in your domain. Chapter 35 Lu Ming, you will be more destructive than me. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement: in his own field, Sukuna was suppressed and beaten for a full minute and 50 seconds. Although he was not injured, he swore that he had never fought such a frustrating battle. At first, he thought about instantly killing the 3 shadow cursed spirits summoned by Lu Ming. Although these 3 shadow cursed spirits are all special level like Lizi, there is also a strength gap between the special levels. He couldn't kill Lizi directly in the field. Could it be that he couldn't kill several weaker special levels instantly? However, what Sukuna didn't expect was that every time he launched an attack on the 3 shadow cursed spirits, Lizi would stand directly in front of them and bear Sukuna's attack with her own body. This scene shocked Sukuna. Without any hesitation, he blocked the attack with his own body. And every time, although Lizi was very strong, Sukuna could realize that Lizi could not completely neutralize his attack. In other words, his attacks in the field can actually cause damage to Lizi. Although it is not fatal, every attack is uncomfortable. When the cumulative effect is added up, it is no less than a serious injury. Why is Lizi so desperate to protect these 3 cursed spirits? Weird connection. Because of Lizi's cover, Sukuna was hit by the 3 men again. However, being hit did not make him angry, but instead made him feel happier. He admitted that since he only had the strength of 2 fingers, he couldn't do anything to Lu Ming. However, he was even more looking forward to what kind of surprises this Lu Ming would bring him. Lu Ming, kid. If you had been born in my time, maybe you would have become the curse that the world fears just like me. You will not be satisfied with this jujutsu world. I look forward to the moment when you look directly at your true heart. When your power is far greater than others, the damage you cause to this world by ignoring everything may be even more exaggerated than mine. Ha ha ha. I'm looking forward to you, king and mount. The mount in your heart is restless. Advertisement. Sukuna laughed and blocked the attacks of the 3 brothers and Lizi. Then, in an instant, the domain demon suppressing chef disappeared. Itadori Yuji's consciousness returned instantly. 3 minutes are up. At the same time, Lu Ming shook his head, and the 3 brothers instantly turned into black shadows and merged into the shadows under his feet. And Lizi also returned at the same time, her eyes full of reluctance. It's okay. Once I master it, I should be able to summon all 9 phases. It won't take long. Lu Ming touched Lizi's face and comforted her gently. Moreover, he seemed to have figured out the trick of using shadows to hide items. Is it over? After waking up, Itadori Yuji only felt aches and pains in his body. Originally, he wanted to watch the battle between Lu Ming and Sukuna. But he didn't expect that after hearing Sukuna say the 4 words domain expansion, he would be completely plunged into darkness and unable to contact the outside world. I could only count 180 seconds silently in the darkness. Seeing the scene of Lu Ming caressing Lizi, Itadori Yuji probably already guessed the outcome of the battle. It was still Lu Ming who won. Well, Yuji, I feel much better. Let's go. Go back to the high school. Lu Ming grinned at Itadori Yuji. He gained a lot from this battle. Not only did he establish a clear connection with the 9-phase diagram, he also successfully summoned the swelling phase, bad phase and blood smear with the help of shadow magic. The most important thing is that, under the stimulation of Fumo Yuchazi, he mastered how to use shadows to simulate simple fields and successfully opened unlimited spells. At this time, his true power has far surpassed that of a first-level Jujutsu master. If all of Lu Ming's powers were exposed, perhaps there would no longer be 3 major super Jujutsu masters. But it doesn't matter. As a flexible person, Lu Ming doesn't care too much about this status. Now let him become a special-level Jujutsu master. In the future, if your position changes one day, you will have to delete him from the special-level Jujutsu masters. This will be very troublesome. Advertisement: Lu Ming is a considerate young man. How can we arbitrarily occupy public resources? As Lu Ming and Itadori Yuji left, a figure emerged from the shadows with a shocked expression. This person is none other than Zenin Naohua, who was knocked unconscious by Lu Ming before. Because Lu Ming had not killed him before, the plan went a little awry, and Zenin Naohua was only unconscious for a few minutes. When Zenin Noburo was defeated by Itadori Yuji, he had already awakened. However, he did not get up at that time. After all, there was a gap between him and Lu Ming in terms of physical strength, and he would only get beaten up again if he got up. Moreover, he could feel that Lu Ming did not have much hostility towards him, which also led him to the wrong conclusion that Lu Ming did not reject the Zenin family. Therefore, Zenin Naohua did not want to continue to arouse Lu Ming's bad feelings because of this incident. Unfortunately, what Zenin Naohua didn't know was that the biggest reason why Lu Ming betrayed him was not because of the Zenin family, but because of Zenin Naoya's bloodline. However, it was precisely because of Zenin Naoya's decision that he witnessed the battle between Lu Ming and Ryomen Sukuna. As the future heir of the Zenin family, although he has never faced Sukuna's power, Zenin Naohua has long heard about Sukuna, the king of curses, and has a deep understanding of his strength. This Ryomen Sukuna is invincible. In the entire Jujutsu world, there are probably only those few special-level Jujutsu masters who can rival Sukuna's incomplete strength. If it were Sukuna in his prime, who could successfully fight against him, Zenin Naohua could only think of Gojo Satoru with the 6 eyes of heaven. He even suspected that Gojo Satoru might not be a match for Sukuna. After all, the Jujutsu world can't even destroy Sukuna's death wax now. But now, reality tells him. A young man who looked younger than him fought with Ryomen Sukuna for 3 minutes. After being pulled into the domain by Ryomen Sukuna, he was able to escape intact and defeat Sukuna. What kind of terrifying strength is this? Regardless of Lu Ming's own strength, this is enough to prove how powerful the special cursed spirit behind Lu Ming is. Just relying on the cursed spirit glass, Lu Ming, in Zenin Naoya's opinion, can already enter the ranks of special-level Jujutsu masters. What's more, Lu Ming also possesses 10 shadow spells from the Zenin family. It can only be said that the future potential is even greater. Advertisement: Zenin Naohua numbly dialed the contact information of Zenin Naohua. In Zenin's house, Zenin's direct neighbor and Zenin fan are communicating about the future development plans of Zenin's house. They are arguing with each other, but no one can convince the other. The Zenin people are helpless about their awkward brother. However, at this moment, the phone suddenly rang. Seeing that it was Zenin Naoya's number, Zenin Naohua temporarily stopped arguing with Zenin fan, picked up the phone, and listened silently. The next second, his eyes widened instantly, with a look of shock on his face. What? He actually has the strength of a super Jujutsu master. 5 minutes later, Zenin hung up the phone and directly ordered his subordinates to prepare a car and go to Jujutsu High School. Zenin Shan looked confused. He didn't know what happened, but he heard the words, Super Jujutsu Master. Anything related to a special Jujutsu master is a major event in the Jujutsu world. Now Hibito, what happened? What special level Jujutsu master? Is it Gojo Satoru or 99 Yuki? Or is it Okkotsu Yūta who has returned to the special level? Zenin fan didn't care at this time that he was still quarreling with Zenin people. However, what surprised Zenin was that the person directly next to Zenin glanced at him and shook his head. No, that person possesses the 10 shadow spells of the Zenin family. Zenin fan's figure was shaken. A special level Jujutsu master with shadow magic? He knew this couldn't be Fushiguro Megumi, so there was a second Jujutsu master who mastered shadow magic in this world. Zenon Fan immediately realized the importance of this matter. I'll go with you to meet that person, he made the request. Zenon hesitated for a few seconds and finally said, outside, everything is dominated by me. You can't contradict any decision I make, so I agree to take you to find that person together. Zenon Shan was speechless, but finally agreed to this request. After all, it's been too long since the Zenon family had a super jujutsu master. He really wanted to know what kind of bloodline was lost to the Zenon family that had such amazing talents. Not only did he master shadow magic, but he also had the strength of a special jujutsu master. Chapter 36 Zenon Family, you appeared too many times at the beginning of the main plot. Previous chapter next chapter advertisement, Lu Ming. Why don't we go back to the high school directly? What are we doing here? Looking at Lu Ming who was queuing up to buy sweets, Itadori Yuji looked confused. Lu Ming smiled, pointed at the dessert shop with a long queue at the entrance of the station, and whispered. Teacher Gojo likes this kikufuku the most. We are back in Sendai, why don't we take some back as souvenirs? Yuji, you will be an adult from now on, and you must understand the ways of the world. Gojo Satoru helped you win the chance of immortality, so you have to show some small gestures in return, right? Itadori Yuji touched his head and suddenly realized. Yes, Mr. Gojo seemed to have brought sweets back before, so I'll buy some for Mr. Gojo and Fushiguro too. Itadori Yuji joined the team and lined up with Lu Ming. Lu Ming didn't like sweets before, but since he got 6 eyes, he has developed a preference for sweets. After all, 6 eyes data processing puts the brain in a high-speed state, and consumes far more energy than ordinary people. Therefore, sweets have become the best choice to supplement the sugar needed by the body. As for why Lu Ming chose this company, it was entirely because Lu Ming had already tasted the taste of Zaijufu on the way to the high school. I have to say that Gojo Satoru's personal taste is very good, and this dessert is also Lu Ming's dish. Therefore, what Lu Ming said before was all fabrication. He was lining up to buy sweets just for himself. Hey, Lu Ming. Why are you leaving? Don't you want to buy it? Itadori Yuji had just joined the team and saw Lu Ming leaving the team with a somewhat surprised expression. Lu Ming pointed to the seat next to him and shrugged at Itadori. This store also has no purchase limit, so you only need to wait in line alone. Yuji, remember to buy 2 portions later. Itadori Yuji's face showed dark lines. Damn it, then why don't you buy it for me? If you ask, I was going to buy it for you, but you have to queue up yourself. I thought you liked queuing. Advertisement Lu Ming showed an infuriating smile that made Itadori Yuji itch with hatred. No, let's take turns lining up. Okay. In the end, after paying the money, Itadori Yuji did not wait for Lu Ming to change places with him and take turns queuing. Along the way, after eating the food happily, Lu Ming and Itadori Yuji have successfully returned to the high school. Gojo-sensei. This is the souvenir we brought you from Sendai. Itadori Yuji gave full play to the sophistication of human nature explained by Lu Ming, but what he didn't realize was that there were a few less happy ones in his bag. Beside him, Lu Ming, who had just finished stealing, was putting the kikufu that he had taken from Itadori's bag into his own empty bag. Gojo Satoru taunted him. He didn't deserve to eat the dessert he bought, so he used Itadori's filial piety and gave it to Gojo Satoru to show off. Facing Gojo Satoru's helpless expression, Lu Ming naturally knew that his movements could not avoid Gojo Satoru's 6 eyes. However, he did not feel embarrassed at all. Instead, he said loudly. Teacher Gojo, I haven't seen you in the past 2 days, but I miss you so much. This is a souvenir from us. Yuji and I are very grateful to Mr. Gojo for caring for us in Sendai. Lu Ming handed the newly assembled souvenir to Gojo Satoru with a secret yin and yang in his mouth. You're welcome, Itadori, your affairs should have been settled. Tomorrow we will pick up the last first-year student. You can go back and rest first. Gojo Satoru's tone was as nonchalant as usual, and he sent Itadori Yuji away directly. Hey, Lu Ming, aren't you leaving? When Itadori left, he still did not forget his little friend. You go ahead, Yuji, Mr. Gojo and I have other things to talk about. Lu Ming twitched his lips and gave an Itadori reply. Advertisement, okay, then I'll go back to the dormitory first. Itadori Yuji probably guessed that Lu Ming was left behind because of the attack in Sendai. It would be better for a little brat like him to stay away from this kind of dispute between the 3 major families in the Jujutsu world. Why, did you meet the Zenon family in Sendai? Gojo Satoru asked teasingly. With such a shady attitude, is it possible that the Zenon family has put you at a disadvantage? 6 eyes behind Lu Ming's sunglasses rolled his eyes. Although Gojo Satoru couldn't see it, he could still realize Lu Ming's emotions through Lu Ming's subtle expressions. You must tell the Zenon family about your shadow magic. After all, the high school is not willing to antagonize the Zenin family for concealing such a thing. You can't hide this spell unless you never use shadow spells in the future. Gojo Satoru explained a few words to calm Lu Ming's emotions. Lu Ming felt much relieved when he heard the strongest Jujutsu master come to explain to him in person. That's the reason, but couldn't Gojo Satoru inform him in advance? Lu Ming, come with me. Gojo Satoru turned and walked towards the high school conference room, and Lu Ming followed casually. Lu Ming, in the Jujutsu world, you don't have to worry about what the Zenin family will do to you. Teacher, I am the strongest. I won't let you be restricted by such a big family, just like Wei. Gojo Satoru put his hands in his pockets and said this seriously. Advertisement, I have to say, from the back, Gojo Satoru, who said this looks really handsome. However, Lu Ming had an evil thought in his mind. Teacher Gojo, you will not let me be restricted by the big family. So, what if the Gojo family discovers my difference? What if the Gojo family found their own version of the Eye of the Sky Gaiden? Close black lens bracket. At that time, Mr. Gojo, as the representative of the Gojo family, what decision will you make? Close black lens bracket. What if the Kamo family discovers that I possess the red blood technique? At that time, as a teacher, could you withstand the pressure from the three major families? Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket fun. In terms of strength, you can crush everyone because you are Gojo Satoru. But can you bear the pressure of the three major families for an ordinary student? Close black lens bracket. The corners of Lu Ming's mouth raised slightly. He was extremely looking forward to this scene happening, and he wanted to know what Gojo Satoru would really think at that time. This incident will determine Lu Ming's future stance. Being chaotic neutral, he doesn't mind deciding whether he is leaning toward good or evil after knowing Gojo Satoru's future attitude. However, when the door of the conference room opened and Lu Ming saw the two Zenin family members in the conference room, he was not in a very happy mood. At this time, he wanted to turn around and throw himself into the arms of the chaotic evil camp. I only came into contact with the Zenin family in Sendai. I didn't expect that I would have to contact the Zenin family again when I returned to the junior high school. Lu Ming just wanted to complain. In the early stages of the main story, did your Zenin family appear too frequently? Close black lens bracket. In the original work, the first appearance of the Zenin family had to wait until Zenin Maki appeared. Moreover, the real introduction to the Zenin family will come later. Now, the main plot has just begun, and the Zenin family has already shown their face twice. Lu Ming feels that the Zenin family has taken over the host. It turns out that what Gojo Satoru said is waiting for me here. Lu Ming, let me introduce to you. These two are from the Zenin family. The current head of the Zenin family, the old drunkard Zenin, is directly adjacent to the head of the family, and the other is the brother of the head of the family, Zenin Fan. Hearing the two titles of old drunkard and master's brother, Zenin and Zenin Fan's foreheads were filled with veins. Chapter 37. How about forming a new Zenin family? Previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement. Zenin people secretly approve of this title, but it doesn't feel very appropriate to be called like this on this occasion. But Zenin Fan hates the identity of Family Master's younger brother the most. If he is not the Family Master's younger brother, and his daughter should be more upbeat, the identity of the Family Master should be her. However, there was nothing he could do. In the entire Jujutsu world, probably only Gojo Satoru dares to hit Zenin Fan's pain point like this. If anyone else dares to say this, the Zenin Fan may explode directly. Now faced with Gojo Satoru's casual and out-of-the-box character, Zenin Fan can only endure it silently. After introducing Zenin Zebi and Zenin Fan, Gojo Satoru turned around and exposed Lu Ming from behind. This is Lu Ming, a freshman at Jujutsu High School. Well, still, my student. Gojo Satoru introduced Lu Ming lightly without saying a word. After he finished speaking, he just found a corner and sat down, his legs crossed on the conference table, and he looked very relaxed. However, both Zenin fans and Zenin people heard the inner meaning of Gojo Satoru from his last words. Lu Ming is his student, and he will be Lu Ming's support. Zenin Fan and Zenin Naobe looked at each other, and they both understood Gojo Satoru. After all, this is a student who has the same ability as Okkotsu Yūta to become a special-level Jujutsu master. The most important thing is that he not only possesses the cursed spirit like Okkotsu Yūta, but also possesses the Zenin family's passed-down techniques. The potential is undoubtedly stronger than Okkotsu Yūta. If he knew the inner thoughts of Zenin and Zenin, Gojo Satoru would only laugh at their poor intelligence. Advertisement. Outsiders only see the power of Okkotsu Yūta's spells, but what they don't know is that the most powerful thing about Okkotsu Yūta is his almost infinite spell power. Uraraka is so powerful because of Okkotsu. It's not because of the existence of Uraraka that Okkotsu became a special Jujutsu master. Looking at the two descendants of the Zenin family in front of him, Lu Ming's expression was very cold. The two people in front of him should be grateful that he met Zen and Naohua before. If he had met the two old guys Zen and Naohua and Zen and Shan, he might not have been able to realize that these two people were his old friends, descendants. After all, the appearance of these two people really had nothing to do with handsomeness, and it was impossible for him to recognize the characteristics of his old friend. Lu Ming-kun, did you meet Naohua before? Zenin people ask questions knowingly. Lu Ming, on the other hand, had no patience at all. I think I've seen that young man from Sendai. He doesn't use the projection spell very well, he's too weak. Lu Ming's words made Zen and Shan's face change. Zen and Fan didn't know the content of Zen and Naohua's previous phone call and didn't know what happened in Sendai. But when he heard Lu Ming say that Zen and Naohua was too weak, he couldn't control his expression. In the Zenin family, Zen and Naohua is the strongest, and he and Zen and Naohua are on the same level. Now that Lu Ming is commenting on Zen and Naohua like this, does it also mean that he is the same in Lu Ming's eyes? Before he came, he had always been skeptical about the strength of Lu Ming's special Jujutsu master. However, from the current point of view, regardless of whether Lu Ming has special strength or not, at least his tone is no different from that of a special level. Moreover, if it weren't for Lu Ming's long white hair and ponytail, he would really suspect that the young man in front of him was related to Gojo Satoru. Advertisement: he really has the same white hair, the same sunglasses as Gojo Satoru when he was young, and the same shitty attitude. Zenin wanted to refute Lu Ming, but Zenin held him down. Thinking of Zenin's previous request, Zenin took a deep breath and continued to remain silent. Quincy's strength is indeed not very strong, but he has never used spells in front of too many people before. Unexpectedly, Lu Mingjun was able to name the projection spell after just one fight. It seems that Mr. Lu Ming knows the Zenin family very well. Zenin Naohua is still laying the groundwork. The person in front of him seems to have special level strength, but why hasn't he discovered the special level cursed spirit that Zenin Naohua mentioned was accompanying Lu Ming? Could it be that Zenin Naohua got it wrong? That special grade cursed spirit is not controlled by Lu Ming? Seeing that Zenin had been observing Lu Ming's back, Gojo Satoru smiled playfully, and his eyes stayed in Lu Ming's shadow. Yes, at this time, Lu Ming was no longer as unable to recover Lizi as before. After fighting Sukuna and reconnecting with the cursed fetus 9-phase diagram, he also mastered the ability to hide Lizi with the help of shadow. Therefore, in the future, he no longer has to worry about being too conspicuous wherever he goes. After all, Lizi's power is too strong. As long as other Jujutsu masters get close to him, they will be intimidated by Lizi. This is too unfriendly to other students of Jujutsu High School. He also knew that this ability would definitely not be able to hide from Gojo Satoru's 6 eyes, so he simply turned a blind eye to Gojo Satoru's gaze. At the same time, he also wanted to see if he didn't have the special cursed spirit, would the Zenin family be as interested in him as Fushiguro Megumi? Knowing that the descendants of his old friends are now in charge of the Zenin family, Lu Ming has no interest in taking revenge on the Zenin family. Just let the Zenin family seek their own blessings. Anyway, he is not a pure Zenin family bloodline now. As long as the Zenin family didn't come to him, he didn't want to have anything to do with the Zenin family. That's why Lu Ming was so cold when meeting people from Zenin. Advertisement, however, what surprised him was that even though he belittled Zenin Naohua so much, the old man was able to keep smiling. He has a good character. Judging from his experience in the original work, he is indeed a good head of the family. It's just that Kong has the heart to change the family tradition, but he doesn't have the strength to change the family tradition. Lu Mingjun, do you know where your father and your father are currently living? Lu Ming fell into memories for a moment. In this life, Zeniming's scumbag father should have died long ago, and that unlucky mother had passed away before Zeniming was brought into the Zenin family. Dead? Lu Ming's uncertain tone surprised both Zenin and Zenin Shan. He should be dead, but after all, I didn't see him die with my own eyes. Zenin was silent for a few seconds and nodded. If I guess correctly, Lu Mingjun's father should have the blood of the Zenin family, so Lu Mingjun will inherit the ancestral techniques of the Zenin family. Do you know about this, Mr. Lu Ming? You are a descendant of the Zenin family? Seeing Lu Ming's strange attitude, Zenin simply stopped showing off and directly revealed his true purpose. Lu Ming smiled with an indifferent expression. I know, but so what? My surname is Lu, and Hui's surname is Fushiguro. We are both independent individuals and have no necessary connection with the Zenin family. I know what you are thinking, but I don't want to go back to the Zenin family. This family is full of decay. How about this? I remember there was a descendant of the Zenin family in the 2nd grade. How about me, Megumi, and Zenin Maki, forming a new Zenin family together? Chapter 38 Avengers? Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Zenin's eyes were full of shock, while Gojo Satoru looked at him with a playful smile, seemingly very interested in Lu Ming's proposal. To be honest, this proposal was something Lu Ming came up with on the spur of the moment, but after thinking about it, it seems to be quite feasible. I am an abandoned son of the Zenin family 150 years ago. Fushiguro Megumi, the son of the tyrant Fushiguro, who regarded the Zenin family as a garbage dump. Zenin Maki will be forced by Zenin Fan to witness the death of her own sister in front of her eyes, and finally kill the future Sky and tyrant of the Zenin family. The three of them unite to form an Avengers alliance, which seems to be a very good idea. Zenin Maki has nothing to do with the Zenin family anymore. Lu Ming, what you said about the new Zenin family is a fallacy. Weak Maki doesn't even deserve the Zenin family name. When Zenin Shan heard his daughter's name, he stood up directly and stared at Lu Ming with sinister eyes. In Zenin Shan's view, his two daughters are his shame. It is because of their failure that he lost to Zenin in the competition as the head of the family. After listening to Zenin Fan's words, Lu Ming finally saw the disgusting nature of Zenin Fan. Although the man in front of him was also a descendant of his old friend, he still wanted to teach him a lesson. Haha, isn't that just right? If Maki's surname is not Zenin, then her surname should be Gojo, Fushiguro, or like me, Riku. Three people without the surname Zenin form the new Zenin family. Well, it's so fun. Zenin Maki and Fushiguro Megumi are the most promising jujutsu masters of the Zenin family. Such people are unwilling to return to the Zenin family, which is enough to prove that the Zenin family is still so decadent. Advertisement, slap. Shut up. Zenin immediately spoke to stop him, but a cold look appeared on Lu Ming's face, and the 6 eyes behind his sunglasses was full of impatience. The Zenin family really still needs blood exchange. Is Asuka's bloodline stained? Or, you are not the blood descendants of Asuka. Lu Ming said such confusing words, and then, a powerful pressure emerged from behind him. Lizi was released from the shadow by Lu Ming. The pressure of the special cursed spirit made Zenin and Zenin stand stiff. As the strongest first-level jujutsu master, Zenin Nahito could still barely move. However, Zenin Fan, who was being taken care of by Riko, could no longer support his body and sat down on the chair. Lu Ming pushed up the glasses on the bridge of his nose, took out a cigarette and lighter from his pocket, lit a cigarette, took a puff, came to Zenin's fan, and blew out a smoke ring happily. Do you think Maki is weak? Do you think you lost to your brother because of your 2 daughters? Trash without self-awareness. You will lose simply because you are too weak. Lu Mingtiao sat down on the conference table, his legs swinging casually, and the pungent secondhand smoke was constantly sprayed out, showing his disregard for the 2 of them. However, Zenin and Zenin Fan did not take any action in the face of Lu Ming's rude action, because the special cursed spirit Lizi around Lu Ming was watching them eagerly. At this moment, Zenin finally understood what his son said. The special cursed spirit behind Lu Ming is really too powerful. This person in front of me definitely has the strength of a special level jujutsu master. This person in front of me can defeat Ryomen Sukuna. This person in front of me is not something that the current Zenin family can provoke. Advertisement Lu Ming must not make enemies. This is the current thinking of the Zenin people. Zenin Fan's heart was full of shame. He was actually suppressed by a teenage boy and became motionless. He even had fear in his heart. He wanted to refute what Lu Ming said, but he couldn't speak at all. Feeling Lu Ming's teasing eyes, he seemed to acquiesce in Lu Ming's evaluation of himself. Faced with this tense scene, Gojo Satoru, who was not affected at all, continued to eat melon silently, without any intention of stopping it. This is an internal matter of the Zenin family. What does he, an outsider of the Gojo family, care about? In this way, Lu Ming suppressed Zenin Zibi and Zenin Fan, finished smoking the cigarette comfortably, and pressed the cigarette butt into the water glass in front of Zenin Fan. It may be better for the Zenin family if the rotten things of the Zenin family withdraw from the stage of history as soon as possible. After saying that, Lu Ming jumped down from the table. Teacher Gojo, don't call me for something like this next time. Otherwise, if I get really angry, I might not be able to control myself. Gojo Satoru grinned. Okay. Lu Ming nodded slightly, turned around and prepared to leave. Wait a minute, Lord Lu Ming. Zenin shouted, but Lu Ming left without any pause and walked straight towards the door. Looking at Lu Ming's back, Zenin's eyes flashed with determination and he shouted. Lu Mingjun, we have no hostility at all. I hope you can come back to Zenin's house to visit when you are free in the future. As for Maki and Wei, I hope you will take good care of them in the future. Zenin's response surprised even Gojo Satoru. The head of the Zenin family actually gave in. Moreover, the meaning of these words actually included tacit approval of Lu Ming's proposal to rebuild the Zenin family in the high school? Advertisement Zenin's face was shocked, and he didn't know what Zenin was thinking. How could the power of the Zenin family be seized by a stranger like Lu Ming? No one will give the answer. Only Zenin knows everything in his heart. He realizes that something is wrong with Lu Ming. The name Lu Ming just mentioned made him realize the connection between Lu Ming and the Zenin family. Lu Ming actually knew about Zenin bird. Zenin Asuka was the mistress of the Zenin family 150 years ago. He and Zenin Fan are both direct bloodlines of Zenin Asuka. The other identity of this name is the mother of the last shadow spell user in the Zenin family. Lu Ming is suspected to be related to the ancestors of the Zenin family, and in his tone, he treats the ancestors of the Zenin family very equally. Recalling that Zenin Naohua told him that Lu Ming's identity was not included in the entire Neon identity system, the suspicion in his heart became even stronger. However, he felt that his guess was a bit contrary to common sense, so he needed to return to the family to learn more information. As Lu Ming and Lizi left the conference room, Zenin Fan finally gained control of his body. However, there was nothing he could do at this time, and a consensus was reached between Gojo Satoru and Zenin. Zenin. I'll leave the three of them to you. Gojo Satoru. They are all my students to begin with, but I'm just afraid that you won't give up, so I'm informing you here. Zenin. You are indeed the strongest Jujutsu master. Your students are so strong. It seems that the future is really yours. Gojo Satoru. Isn't the future always in my hands? Under Gojo Satoru's playful gaze, Zenin Naohua and Zenin Naohua hurriedly left Jujutsu High School, as if everything had never happened. Chapter 39 A Little Bit of Red is Coming, previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement the next day, early in the morning. Gojo Satoru knocked on the door one by one and called Lu Ming, Itadori Yuji and Fushiguro Megumi. Teacher Gojo. What are you doing so early? Itadori Yuji stretched, but then he discovered that Lu Ming and Fushiguro Megumi next door had already put on their uniforms. Didn't I say last night that I was going to pick up the last classmate today? Fushiguro Megumi complained that he really didn't have high hopes for Itadori Yuji's rough nerves. Yes, and she is a little girl. Yuji, don't you want to solve your lifelong problem in school? Lu Ming teased and adjusted his custom-made uniform. Because it was during the Meiji period when he traveled back in time, Lu Ming was quite nostalgic for the clothes from that time. Therefore, the uniform style he requested is more inclined to the kimono, which is somewhat different from the student uniforms of Itadori Yuji and Fushiguro Megumi. At this time, standing between the three Gojo Satoru, he looked a little out of place. However, Lu Ming didn't care about this. He just wanted to have fun, so why did he care about other people's opinions? Let's go. Target, Harajuku. As Gojo Satoru's voice fell, the head teacher of Tokyo Jujutsu High School and 3 students set out on the road to find the last piece of the puzzle. Doo-doo. The train bound for Shibuya Shinagawa will enter lane 1. For safety reasons, please stay on the inside of the yellow line. A slim girl wearing a school uniform, carrying a school bag, and with short ear-length hair stood on the street of Takashita Street, looking at the dense crowd on the street, and said to herself excitedly. Advertisement, Saori-chan, I'm coming, arrived in Tokyo. As a girl who came to Tokyo for the first time, Kujisaki Nobara was full of curiosity about everything in Tokyo. Compared with the small place where she lives, Tokyo is an international metropolis. Kujisaki Nobara is overwhelmed by the shops and exquisite decorations around it. And, for the first time, she saw real talent scouts looking for models on the streets. Miss, this is my business card. Do you mind joining our firm? We will give you a full range of packages. A middle-aged man wearing a suit, with a beer belly and a Mediterranean face is looking for a suitable model in Takashita Street. However, he passed by Kujisaki Nobara many times, ignoring Kujisaki Nobara's existence. Finally, when the scout sighed and was about to give up and leave, Kujisaki Nobara, who had been angry for a long time, grabbed the scout's collar. I'm talking about you. Why don't you ask me? I've been standing here for so long, haven't you seen it? Blind? Close black lens bracket? Seeing Kujisaki Nobara's fierce expression, a few drops of cold sweat broke out on the middle-aged talent scout's forehead. He glanced at Kujisaki Nobara begging for mercy, not knowing why the girl grabbed his clothes. Asking you? What's the question? The middle-aged talent scout timidly wiped his sweat. Aren't you looking for a model? What do you think of me? Kujisaki Nobara asked viciously. No, I remembered that our agency doesn't need to recruit models. I'm in a hurry. The man suddenly pulled his collar out of Kujisaki Nobara's hands and ran away as if he had seen some wild beast. Advertisement in this scene was all seen by Lu Ming and his trio. She is indeed the only woman in the protagonist group. Sure enough, this kind of temperament is the most suitable for a passionate battle series. Close black lens bracket. Yuji, this is it, our future classmate, go call her over. Regarding Lu Ming's instructions, Itadori Yuji's face was full of resistance. He felt that Kujisaki Nobara's action of pulling the scout and asking him forcibly was a bit too shameful. He didn't want to talk to the conspicuous bag. Lu Ming, I'm a little embarrassed. Fushihei, go ahead and call me. Seeing Itadori Yuji preparing to divert trouble, Fushiguro Megumi had a cold look on his face. How dare you feel embarrassed yourself? At this moment, Itadori Yuji is holding 2 marshmallows and wearing strange pink glasses on his face. Rather than being a conspicuous bag for others, it is better to say that he looks more like a conspicuous bag for himself. 50 steps and 100 steps lead to laughter. Aren't these 2 bumpkins who came to Tokyo for the first time? Just when Itadori Yuji hesitated and was about to open his mouth, Gojo Satoru suddenly appeared behind them and shouted hello to Kujisaki Nobara. Hear, hear. Kujisaki Nobara's eyes were attracted by Gojo Satoru's voice, and at this point, all the first-year members of Jujutsu High School officially met. After storing his belongings, Kujisaki Nobara glanced at the 4 men in front of him, put his right hand on his waist, and shook his hair valiantly. Let me introduce myself, Kujisaki Nobara. Have fun, boys, a little bit of red is coming. Kujisaki Nobara's self-introduction was simple and straightforward. Lu Ming was worried that she would say something next. Get restless, little darlings. After the introduction of Wild Rose, Itadori Yuji also responded. He took off the conspicuous pink glasses on his face, pointed at himself and said with a smile. Advertisement. My name is Itadori Yuji, from Sendai. Fushiguro Megumi. Fushiguro Megumi said nothing and followed Itadori Yuji and said his name. It was Lu Ming's turn. He grinned and waved at the red spot. My name is Lu Ming. I like Yang cuisine. Just like when he introduced himself in front of Yagamasamichi, Lu Ming treated everyone equally without any favoritism. From Kujisaki Nobara's perspective, she quickly began to label the 3 people in front of her. The pink-haired boy, Itadori Yuji, looks silly and looks like a country bumpkin. He must have eaten his own boogers when he was a child, right? The boy with the black spiky hair, Fushiguro Megumi, only gave his name, put on airs and pretended to be cold. Really, this guy was definitely the kind of person who would set a seagull covered in gasoline on fire. As for the white-haired ponytail boy, Lu Ming, he doesn't sound like a neon person. Is he probably from China? And you also like to eat Yang cuisine? What kind of dish is this and why have I never heard of it before? But she has a bright smile, but I don't know why she is wearing a pair of sunglasses. He doesn't look like a blind man, does he? With such a handsome face, it would be a pity if he was blind. Thinking of this, Kujisaki Nobara couldn't help but waved his hand in front of Lu Ming, testing Lu Ming's sight. Seeing this action, Lu Ming couldn't guess what Kujisaki Nobara was thinking. He felt very helpless towards this female classmate. I can see it. Kugazaki-kun. Kujisaki Nobara quickly retracted her hand, realizing that her actions were a bit impolite. Hello, classmate Lu Ming. Out of apology, Kujisaki Nobara subconsciously reached out his hand. Chapter 40. Happy Enemies and Hidden Attributes. Previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement. Hello, Kujisaki-san. When the girl reached out her hand, Lu Ming naturally did not refuse. He touched it politely and said hello. Can I ask a question? Why are you wearing a pair of sunglasses? As he spoke, Kujisaki Nobara glanced at the eye patch on Gojo Satoru's face behind the 3 of them. Could it be that the Tokyo Jujutsu Senior High School has this special habit? Thinking of the pink glasses on Itadori Yuji's face before, Kujisaki Nobara was filled with suspicion, always feeling that this kind of thing was a bit inappropriate. However, why is Fushiguro Megumi next to him not wearing glasses? But what Kujisaki Nobara didn't expect was that after he asked this question, Itadori Yuji and Fushiguro Megumi turned their heads instantly and looked at Lu Ming. They seemed to also want to know the answer to this question. Yes, Lu Ming, when I first saw you that night, you were wearing sunglasses. Your sunglasses were not used to block the moon, were they? Itadori Yuji acted as a curious baby and began to dig deeper into the topic of Wild Rose. Fushiguro Megumi on the side nodded secretly. He was also curious, but he knew that there must be some secrets hidden behind Lu Ming's sunglasses. He and Itadori had been inconvenient to ask before, but now that Kujisaki Nobara is so straightforward, this can satisfy their inner curiosity. Oh, is this a pair of sunglasses? Do you want to know why I wear them? The corners of Lu Ming's mouth rose slightly. Want to know? Fushiguro Megumi, Itadori Yuji and Kujisaki Nobara all nodded. I'll tell you. The faces of the 3 people were full of anticipation. It's a secret. Cut. Advertisement. Lu Ming's voice fell, and the 3 of them made disdainful comments. However, despite being tricked by Lu Ming, Kujisaki Nobara still felt that the white-haired young man in front of him was different from the other 2. I always feel that there is some special power hidden in his body. Feeling Wild Rose's gaze on his shadow, Lu Ming also felt emotional. It has to be said that girls' intuition is sometimes very accurate. Although Lizi did not appear, Kujisaki Nobara still keenly felt Lizi's existence. Seeing that the students had finished interacting with each other, Gojo Satoru stretched out and suggested casually, Now that everyone has met, let's go sightseeing in Tokyo. Let's go sightseeing in Tokyo. Itadori Yuji and Kujisaki Nobara were immediately attracted by Gojo Satoru's words. Great, Tokyo, Tokyo, we love Tokyo. Although Kujisaki Nobara said Itadori Yuji was a country bumpkin, the two of them were actually very similar and both looked forward to things like visiting Tokyo. Teacher, I want to go to Tokyo Disneyland. Kujisaki Nobara proposed his idea, but was later refuted by Itadori Yuji. Idiot, Tokyo Disneyland is in Chiba Prefecture. Teacher, let's go to China Street. Lu Ming, didn't you say you like Yang cuisine? There must be Yang cuisine in China Street. You must be on my side. Itadori Yuji had already started competing with Kujisaki Nobara at this time, and was even canvassing for votes at this time. A trace of helplessness appeared on Lu Ming's face. Huzzy, if you continue like this, you are destined to be lonely for the rest of your life. Kujisaki Nobara is very good, he matches you very well, don't say that my brother doesn't create opportunities for you. Close black lens bracket. Besides, you are so naive, how could Gojo Satoru take you out to play? Close black lens bracket. Of course, if he really had to choose between Disney and Chinatown, he would still choose Chinatown. Advertisement. When the two began to argue heatedly, Gojo Satoru stood between the two and announced loudly. Our goal this time is Roppongi. Hearing the name Roppongi, Itadori Yuji and Kujisaki Nobara were even more excited, and they reached a consensus for the first time. In Tokyo, Roppongi, with its many nightclubs, is synonymous with fashion. Just go to Roppongi. When Lu Ming and his party came to an abandoned building, Itadori Yuji and Kujisaki Nobara were filled with frustration. Fraud. The two watched in unison as Gojo Satoru spat out the word. The first floor of the abandoned building was filled with all kinds of dark graffiti, and a strange purple mist continued to emit from the entire upper level. There's curse here, Gojo Satoru explained with a smile. There was a large cemetery nearby, and it happened to run into an abandoned building, so curse was born. Oh okay. Itadori Yuji nodded as if he understood. Sure enough, curse is more likely to appear in cemeteries, right? Lu Ming shook his head. No, cemeteries don't produce curse. The real cause of curse is the hearts of those who equate cemeteries with horror. Kujisaki Nobara was surprised that Lu Ming would explain specifically to Itadori Yuji. And seeing Itadori Yuji looking like he had learned something, she even felt that these classmates were unreliable. Wait a minute, doesn't this guy even know the most basic knowledge? Is such that? Advertisement. Fushiguro Megumi explained on the side. Itadori joined Jujutsu High School because Lu Ming forcibly fed the finger of the special cursed object Ryomen Sukuna. He had never been exposed to this knowledge before. Nani? Special grade cursed object. Eat it? Kujisaki Nobara felt unhygienic and disgusting at first, but then she realized it. Is it forced by Lu Ming? Itadori Yuji and Fushiguro Megumi nodded in unison. Kujisaki Nobara's eyes instantly shifted to Lu Ming's face, and all she received in response was Lu Ming's helpless shrug. At this moment, Kujisaki Nobara thought about the love and hatred between Itadori Yuji and Lu Ming, and his face suddenly turned red. Then she forced herself to calm down. She also realized the complicated relationship between this group of classmates. At first she saw Itadori Yuji soliciting votes from Lu Ming, and she thought the two were good friends. Now, Fushiguro Megumi explains for Itadori Yuji, it looks like the two are a little closer again. Lu Ming, on the other hand, seems to have a good relationship with both of them, and it doesn't look like he forced Itadori Yuji to swallow cursed object. How did these three people do it? Man, it's so complicated. Just when Kujisaki Nobara was thinking wildly, Gojo Satoru, who had allowed them to communicate for a long time, finally said, You will all be my students from now on. I want to know your strength and what level you can achieve. This time, let's treat it as an entrance test. Rose, Yuji, go and exorcise the curse from the building. Kujisaki Nobara's expression froze and he asked subconsciously, What about Fushiguro Megumi and Lu Ming?